Welcome to Bless Them Boys, a podcast that will not be running the 40-yard dash. We're one Saints fan and one Cowboys fan, one fan of who dat and one fan of dat win. We're here to give weekly takes, game recaps, bad betting picks, game previews, and the occasional Seinfeld reference.
With the NFL draft rapidly approaching, we'd like to highlight each week one former Saint and one former Cowboy drafted in the first round of the NFL draft. This week, our patron Saint is offensive tackle Willie Roaf, selected 8th overall in the 1993 NFL draft out of Louisiana Tech. Roaf would go on to play 13 seasons in the NFL, 9 with the Saints, beginning in 9 with the Saints. And beginning in 2002, his final 4 seasons were with the Kansas City Chiefs, and he would retire after the 2005 season. In that time, Roaf was elected to 11 Pro Bowls, 4 first-team All-Pros, 5 second-team All-Pros, and was elected to both the All-1990s and All-2000s teams. Roaf was eventually elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2012. So to recap very quickly, for the Saints, you can use Willie Roaf for Hall of Fame, Pro Bowl, and All-Pro.
Our patron Cowboy this week is future first ballot Hall of Famer Zach Martin, known most notably on draft night for not being Johnny Football. He was taken 16th overall in 2014 out of Notre Dame. He went on to play 11 years, all with the Cowboys. He's a 9-time Pro Bowler, 7-time first-team All-Pro, and he's a member of the All-2010s Hall of Fame team. Also, the famous stat is he has more Pro Bowl appearances and the same amount of first-team All-Pros as he has holding penalties in his career, which is 7. So pretty illustrious career. I'm going to miss seeing him on the field. He was definitely playing through injuries this year and was a diminished version of himself, but one of the great Cowboy linemen, which says something given some of the linemen who played for the Cowboys.
Absolutely. I'm Paul, the Saints fan.
I'm Brandon, the Cowboys fan.
We're your host. Izzy, tell the folks what time it is.
Yeah, that's it. It's go time. Let's see you lift that.
Mr. Mandelbaum, please.
It's go time.
This one's for you, Pop. It's go time.
It's go time.
You've been married 3 times.
That's it! It's go time!
It's go time.
You know, I should have included, I didn't realize this, but Zach Martin finished second in offensive rookie of the year voting.
Oh, yeah, I forgot that.
Yeah. Behind Odell Beckham Jr. He finished ahead of Mike Evans.
And you didn't mention how many seasons did Johnny Football last in the NFL? Not 11.
Not 11.
No.
He may have been close. Maybe within 8 or 9 of that.
Yeah. But he did have a Netflix documentary.
That's true. Zach Martin hasn't gotten that yet. So
to be fair,
he does lead in that.
I was going to say that clip from Izzy is from an episode that our buddy Chris, not Tony, as I mistakenly said on Twitter, drafted last week in our draft, the English Patient. So shout out to the fellows that this podcast is making me thirsty. That was real fun last week. Well, hopefully we can have them back on sometime.
It was a blast.
It was a blast. In the meantime, if you'd like to contact the show, get in touch with us. You can do so via email, blessthemboys@gmail.com. That's BLESSDEMBOYZ@gmail.com. Still on Twitter at bless_dem_boys. We got to figure out who our next, who we're going to try to get to follow us next. I don't know.
Yeah, we haven't come up with someone in a while.
Yeah, we need to come up with somebody here. We'll figure it out.
Maybe someone who's coming out of the combine. We can maybe the fastest.
There you go.
Whoever the fastest player is. Let's go after that.
You got it. That 10-4. Got it. You can follow myself. I'm at Paul Elliott _316. That's PaulElliott. Brandon is at Ball from Grace. We're also still on Blue Sky.
Mhm.
You can follow us there. Actually, speaking of guests, I'll talk about this offline with you, Brandon. But may have found another guest to come on from Blue
Oh,
Sky.
via Blue Sky?
Via Blue Sky. Yeah, it's somebody we had
Ooh.
talked about already, but the best way I could find to contact that person was through Blue Sky. So,
All right. That's
so
what we call a tease, ladies and gentlemen.
yeah, there you go. I don't want to say too much because hopefully it'll work out. But if you're listening, thank you. First of all, you can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcast. Please like, share, and subscribe. Leave a rating and review. We're trying to get more guests, and the best way for us to do that, honestly, is you guys spreading the word and hopefully getting the good word out about us. And we appreciate
We
that.
need to
Appreciate all the
we
feedback.
need, we need to get some Russian bots on.
There you go, Yuri, help us out over there. Okay, let's get.
We can
let's
talk
get to,
about your book.
There you go. Yeah. But again, we do appreciate all the feedback. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell random strangers on the street. All right. So we're going to get into, it's going to be mostly talking about the combine this week. But before we do that, we at Bless Them Boys pride ourselves of being able to talk about other things.
But enough about fish. I can discuss other things, you know.
A
All right,
clip
Brandon.
from one of my draft picks there.
Yeah, there you go. For the marine biologist. Yeah. By the way, the boys at this podcast making me thirsty, they mentioned they interviewed Mike Florio. I did check out a little bit of that interview. It's quite good. I would recommend. And he does, on that episode, he does admit that his favorite episode is The Outing. Mike Florio's favorite episode is The Outing. Another
Not that
episode
there's
that we
anything
didn't.
wrong with that.
Not that there's anything wrong with it. Another episode that we didn't draft last week. So hopefully, if Mike heard that, hopefully he forgives us. But
I think we left a lot of meat on the bone, as
Joseph so.
Randall would say.
Yeah. What'd you get into this week, Brandon? Non-football.
All right, so I watched they were talking about it on the Tony Kornheiser show this week, and so I decided to finally go and see if I could pull up the episodes, which are for this show, which are available on YouTube, free of charge. Anyone who wants to watch them. The show is Listen Up, which was Jason Alexander's first attempt at television post Seinfeld. It was based on some columns that Kornheiser wrote while he was at the Post. But you can also you definitely see there's the show Listen Up. He's on a sports talk show on Listen Up that is 100% PTI. Like you can tell, because it's him and an African American guy who talk about sports.
Oh yeah,
and so they're debating. There was a bell ringing somewhere, so it's definitely it's like, oh look, here's the cheap knockoff PTI.
Was there a stats guy that told him all the mistakes they made?
No, they didn't have I only watched the first episode. There's no reality yet, so we'll see if he gets added later in the season. It only ran for one season, not exactly quite as successful as Seinfeld, but they did get a full season out of it, I think. And then I also
22 episodes. It looks like, according to IMDb.
Not too shabby. Its first season did have more episodes than the Seinfeld first season, so there is that.
True, it had more than the season 1 and 2 combined.
Yeah, that's true. And then I also watched one of the shows that's been a blind spot for me that I've always told myself I'm going to go and watch. I watched technically the first half episode because I think the pilot was in 2 parts on Hulu. I watched the first episode of Lost. Probably wasn't a great idea to watch this considering I'm about to get on a plane going overseas in about 3 weeks. So that was not.
Are you heading to Australia by any chance?
We're not, fortunately.
Okay. You're good. You're good.
Yeah. So we should be okay. Just gotta watch out for that Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah.
So I watched the first part of that. Sunday we went over to a friend's house and played a board game called The Search for Planet X.
Okay.
I would describe it as a more advanced version of Clue.
Okay.
Which is fun. I always enjoyed Clue as a kid. The problem was we were drinking while this was happening, and so like I started making inferences, and then I realized that I was like, oh, I went too far here. I couldn't get the numbers to work. Yeah, so I did not do too well in this game, but it was fun. And then I peeked in on some spring training baseball, but other than that, I think the main highlight of my week was watching Listen Up and Lost.
So, real quick on Listen Up. So you said that there was a African American gentleman that was kind of his
Wilbon.
Yeah. So that's Malcolm Jamal Warner.
Okay, I know. Okay, I know he looks familiar.
You know who that is, right? Yeah.
I know the name.
That is Theo Huxtable from The Cosby Show.
Oh yes, I knew he looked familiar, but his hair was a lot longer in this, and so you always think of Theo with short hair.
Yeah. So I guess I'll start my week. You mentioned spring training baseball, so I do follow the Astros. So Alex Bregman, no longer an Astro. He's with the Boston Red Sox. That's a shame.
It seems like things are going well with integrating him into the third base situation over there. Rafael Devers seems very happy.
Yeah. So I thought I saw something that Bregman's going to play second base for the Red Sox. Yeah.
Yeah. So the deal was they signed Bregman, who won a Gold Glove at third base last year, and has been one of the better defensive. I mean, baseball defensive metrics are a little sketchy, but by the advanced StatCast stuff, he's been very strong net positive. Rafael Devers, on the other hand, has been a very strong net negative, and has been actually committed like the most errors in the American League over the past few years. But Rafael Devers says third base is my position. He can go play somewhere else. So that's gone well.
Did Rafael Devers tell the Red Sox to check the tape, much like Derek Carr told the Saints?
He did not see. I don't think he told them to take the tape. Okay. He just told them to eat it. He told them to step off.
the old Tony the Mimbo.
Yeah, he put his hat on backward. I told him you better step off. What about you? Yes. What about you, Paul?
Yeah. So, and then speaking of, I guess Seinfeld, I did actually throw some season 1, season 2 on today. I told you before we turned the mics on, I got a new chair in today that I had.
Is it a massage chair?
It is. Yes, actually. Yeah. It was supposed to go to. It was supposed to be for Todd Gack, but I just kept it.
Okay. Wait, I thought that was for Joe Mayo.
Yeah, sorry, Joe Mayo. Yeah, my bad.
Yeah.
Todd Gack was the.
I don't know who. Yeah. I don't know who this Joe Mayo character is, but frankly, he sounds made up. That's one of my top 5 Kramer quotes of all time. Frankly, he sounds made up.
That's great. See, there's some season 9 goodness. We're
gonna have to talk the guys into it.
We'll get them. We'll keep working on them. But yeah, so I had some of that on today, just watching, and I gotta tell you, man, like I forget, I haven't watched season 1 or 2 in a while. It's good stuff. It's good. I mean, there's still some like awkward, like Jerry's still, you can tell he's like not a great actor, and he gets better as the series goes, but like Kramer's basically there.
Yeah, Kramer doesn't change, or Kessler,
right?
I just always like hated the parts where they had like Elaine and Jerry kind of like relationshipy. I never liked that part of the show, and so that always was annoying.
Yeah, and we talked about this last week with the guys, but like season 3, because that's when the show kind of takes off, and that's really when they stop doing that. They stop with the
trying to put them together.
The boyfriend episode is a perfect example, because like Elaine dates Keith Hernandez, and then Jerry is jealous, and he doesn't know of who. Like,
wait, are you jealous of me, or are you jealous of him?
I'm jealous of everybody. But yeah, so watched a little Seinfeld, non-Seinfeld related. My weekly shows. Severance. So you haven't watched Severance, correct?
No, because I haven't taken the time to splurge for Apple
Ah,
Plus to like binge
okay,
it.
gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. Or when Ted Lasso comes back, you can.
Right.
Um, Severance is starting to become one of these shows that I enjoy hearing people talk about a little bit more than I enjoy watching it. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Like I still watch it because I want to be able to understand, but like there's a lot of high level stuff going on in there. I mean, it's still a good show. There's still great performances in it, but
Uh-huh.
and maybe too because it comes out like it usually releases like Thursday night at like 8 o'clock. So I'm trying to
Uh-huh.
stay up to watch. Try to stay up to watch it. But sometimes I make it, sometimes I don't. Um,
Sometimes you're Newman in the
right.
chair.
Um, but then another show that just came back. I talked about it last week, but The White Lotus on Max
Hmm.
is very that it's looking very good. Came out of the gate strong. First two episodes, so
I may just watch that for Walton Goggins.
yeah. I mean, he's yeah. I would say you kind of need to watch seasons 1 and 2 first. There
Do I need to?
is, well, I mean, maybe not, but there is connective tissue from those seasons. It's not like
Uh-huh.
the show is anthological. Is that the what is that? It's an anthology series. So like
Oh.
you know, so like each season, I think I talked about this last week, but each season is set at a different version of the White Lotus. So like
Uh-huh.
this one's in Thailand. Last season 2 was in Italy. I can't remember where season 1 was, but there are some connective tissues. Like there was connective tissue from 1 to 2, and now there's a little bit of connective tissue to 3. But all in all, it's really just an excuse to get like great actors together and just make a good show. Honestly,
I wanted to when you said anthological, I wanted to say how long have you been waiting to throw that into the conversation? It's anathema. They don't
they
like
don't
doing
they
it.
don't like it. Do it? Yeah, they don't like doing it.
How long you been-
But but my show, if I got to give a show of the week, the seventh episode of Paradise dropped today, and I don't want to say too much. I mentioned this last week. I don't want to say too much about Paradise because if you say too much, you'll spoil it. But the seventh episode, they just got renewed for season 2. I kind of wish they hadn't have said that. I hate it when they reveal like the show's been renewed for season 2 before season 1's over because
Uh-huh.
it takes a little bit out of season 1 because it's like, well, there's going to be a season 2, so you know. Um, but all that to say, the seventh episode of season 1 is probably one of the best hours of television I've seen in a while. It's very good, it's very well done, very good performances. Sterling K. Brown is a tremendous actor.
Are these out 1 hour episodes too?
Yeah, for the most part, they're. I think I described it last week to you. This is how I would describe it. This show is like the best version of an NBC mystery show from like the post Lost era. So like if you take like
Mm,
The Event or Revolution or even Heroes to
Heroes.
some extent, yeah, the very best that those shows could be, that's what this show is. Like to me.
Gotcha.
Um, but again, I don't want to say too much because it's just I would say to anybody on the fence, watch episode 1, and if you're not hooked by that, then fine. No harm, no foul.
Then you're a
Um,
big loser, is what you mean to say, Paul.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. But yeah,
We
so
heard it in
that's
your
what I.
tone.
But that's what I watch. And then I binged. There's a new. It's a mini series on Netflix, 6 episodes called Zero Day. Have you heard of this? No.
I don't think so.
So this stars Robert De Niro of like in 2025, just at his age, just still acting his butt off.
Uh-huh.
He plays a former president who is called upon by the current president being played by Angela Bassett. And De Niro's asked to head a committee to look into a cyber attack that wiped out the country's communication systems for exactly 1 minute and caused countless number of deaths. So basically, there's like this cyber terrorism attack, and De Niro's character, is asked to head the commission, I should say, to look into what happened, because along with this attack, there's threat of another attack down the road. So, it's
I see Connie Britton's in here.
Connie Britton is in it. Jesse Plemons from Breaking Bad and other. Jesse Plemons is a wonderful actor. But yeah, I would say give it a shot. It's pretty good. I mean, it's not the best thing, but I mean, De Niro's he's De Niro. I mean, like it's like he's probably worth watching it, I would say. It was one of those shows where when I got done watching it, I was kind of like, well, okay, it's all right. And then as the days, like a couple days, like today, I was just thinking, I was like, yeah, it was pretty good actually. Like, you know what I mean? Like it kind of has a good aftertaste, I guess. If that makes sense. From a movie watching perspective, I did watch the movie Rain Man. Have you ever seen the movie Rain Man, starring Dustin Hoffman and Tom Cruise?
12 Minutes to Wapner.
Yep.
12 Minutes to Wapner.
The movie hit a little differently for me, being the father of autistic kids. Obviously, this movie was made in like '88, the late '80s, when not a lot was known about autism.
Right.
But no, it's still a great movie, great performance by Hoffman. I was really surprised to read Tom Cruise did not get nominated for that role. I mean, it's really his story. Like Hoffman's obviously doing great work, and he did win the Oscar for the role, but I don't know. Thought Cruise maybe should have been nominated at least. And then I actually started a book. You'd be proud of me, Brandon. I'm actually reading.
Look at you. Heat 2.
Yeah, I mentioned the movie Heat a couple weeks ago. By Michael Mann. Movie came out. It's actually celebrating its 30th anniversary this year. Well, he wrote a follow. So the follow up to Heat, he did as a book. He did Heat 2, which they're actually making. Yeah, Electric Boogaloo. Yep. He's actually making this into a film. It's going to star, I believe, Austin Butler is set to star in it. Adam Driver, maybe. It's
Austin
kind
Butler
of
used to play for the Lakers.
Yes, but he was, and they tried to trade him to Charlotte, but the trade got rescinded. But yeah, he's supposed to be in it. They're supposed to be filming it either right now, or they're supposed to start this year. I think it's supposed to come out. The movie that is supposed to come out next year. The book's pretty good so far. I'm only about 20 pages or so. 90 pages. Done.
Yeah. It's like Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Right. But I can't watch the movie yet because the movie's not out.
Well, you're going to have to wait until somebody rents it and then go barge in on it, force yourself into their apartment.
Joe. That was another episode we didn't draft, I don't think. That's season 5. That's season 6. That's The Couch, I think.
I never remember what episode that storyline is in because it feels so removed from.
I'm almost positive that's The Couch episode because so obviously Jerry has the whole thing with Poppy pees on his sofa,
right?
But then when George goes over to their house, he spills grape juice or something on their couch.
Oh
So
yeah,
he takes one of the couches that gets exchanged at some point and brings it to Joe. I think I don't remember. That's I think
you
that's
are correct. It is the
yeah.
couch.
But then later in that season, I think later in that season, he goes back. Oh,
Isn't that
I know
because
what it.
of Sugar Ray Leonard?
Yeah, that's what it is because
Yeah.
he's trying to find a black friend. Yeah, that's
Right.
right.
hmm
That's
Yeah, I
right.
do remember that part. I was thinking of that. I was
Yeah.
like, if he could just see me with with my black friends.
You don't really have any white friends either.
Is it
All right.
is it the one where Jerry? Sorry.
Go ahead. Go
One
ahead.
more. But isn't that the one where George is trying to find the black friend? Is also the one where Jerry is getting the cabinets?
No, no. The cabinets is not till season 8. This is the one where Jerry's getting fumigated.
Fumigate. Okay, it's
It's
because it's the
the
Terminator. That's what we used
right.
to call. That's what we used to call him. Linebacker.
No, the cabinets is in season 8. That's the same episode where George. That's called. I think that's the nap. I think it's called the nap because that's when George. Yeah. No. That's the wink. That's the wink. The
Okay.
one you just gestured. Season 8 is called the nap. That's the one with Connie, Conrad, or Con, where he builds the thing underneath George's desk so he could take a nap. And then Steinbrenner comes in there and he's like,
There's a little bit of male curiosity. Hey, Georgie.
because he's humming the Heartbreaker song. And he can't.
Africa.
Yeah. All right. Anything else before we move on to?
No, I've gotten enough Seinfeld references out of my system.
All right. Just for now.
For now.
All right. Let's move on to some news and notes. I guess we'll start with the Saints, if that's okay with you. So we talked about Kellen Moore. Got he's hiring his staff. Got his offensive staff filled out. Looks like Doug Nussmeier, the offensive coordinator. The guy I can't remember his name now, but they brought him in from Philadelphia to be the running game coordinator. We talked about Keith Williams, retaining him as a receivers coach. They hired Jim Haslett's son as a tight ends coach, all that good stuff. What's funny is like I think every offensive coach for the Saints is younger than me except for one, which makes me feel really good.
Did I ever tell you about my mom's nickname for Kellen Moore?
No,
She called him
please.
the Pizza Boy
Pizza Boy. Okay.
because he looked like he was needed to be delivering pizzas because he looks like he's 12.
Yeah. I wish as long as he delivers wins for the Saints, that's all I care about.
You didn't have any delivery issues with DoorDash. Hopefully, he's not that sort of delivery driver.
No, I didn't have any. No, not this week. Not this week. No, better luck next week. But Kellen Moore also hired his defensive coordinator, Brandon Staley, as a lot of people suspected it would be. Brandon Staley got hired. I think they were also really impressed with the interview they had with, I believe his name is Christian Parker, who was with the Eagles. He was, I believe, the defensive backs coach for the Eagles. They also brought in, much to your chagrin, they brought in Terry Joseph from the University of Texas. He has New Orleans connections. He went to...
Much to your wife's chagrin, too, I assume.
Yeah, probably. I didn't tell her.
I'm sure she keeps up with this very closely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, every morning she's giving me the update. But he does have connections to New Orleans. He did go to Archbishop Shaw High School. He is the cousin of Vance Joseph, who's the defensive coordinator for the Broncos. I think, he's still the defensive coordinator. I know he and Peyton got into a little scrap in last season, but that turned out to be okay. Today, as we're recording this on the 25th of February, they hired University of Cal defensive coordinator Peter Sermon on the Mount, as it were, to be the linebacker coach. So I kind of like the
I
idea,
like that. I like that the Saints hired someone to preach a sermon.
right? Yeah, why not? We talked about Priest Holmes never played for the Saints, but things don't work out sometimes. Yeah, another Longhorn legend.
Yep.
But what I was going to say is I like that the thing about this Kellen Moore era is it's such a departure from. This is kind of the first time in almost 20 years that the Saints, that is, have been out of that Sean Payton aura, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's really nobody left over from that coaching staff. I mean, Keith Williams is back from last season's coaching staff, but that was, well, I guess technically like Joel Thomas, who they brought back as running backs coach, he was there with Peyton. Nugent that I mentioned, he's with, I think it's Brandon Nugent. He was with the O-line back in the kind of the heyday. So I guess there is some, but I like this, the way they're building their staff. Now, will it matter? Who knows? But we'll see. Also, they did promote for their special teams coordinator. They did promote Phil Gallinari. I think I'm missing that name, but he was the assistant special teams coach under Darren Rizzi, and then when Darren Rizzi got promoted to interim head coach, this gentleman took over, and so he now gets the full-time job. And they hired is this Cowboy legend Kyle Wilbur?
That's correct. Kyle Wilbur
Yeah.
was he drafted by the Cowboys? Yeah,
He was-
2012, fourth round pick 113.
He was most recently as a assistant special teams coordinator, I believe, with the Packers.
Mm-hmm.
Is where he comes from most recently. So yeah, still got some holes to fill there on the coaching staff. I think the most important one left, honestly, for me, is defensive line. Got to get somebody. Looks like with Staley likes to run a 3-4 defense. Saints have been in 4-3. Kind of nickel packages for the last couple of years under Allen, and even previous to when Peyton was the coach and Allen was the DC. So it's a little bit of an adjustment of, and then that obviously will lead into the draft to see how they do with personnel there. Should be a shift there as well. But I'm excited. I mean, I'm getting cautiously optimistic. We'll see how it shakes out.
Yeah, that's how I am about the Cowboys. I was watching. I sent the clip to you, but I want to say it was Matt Harmon, who does reception perception for fantasy football, and was talking to Nate Tice about the Cowboys, and he's like, I actually think he was like, and I think Matt Harmon said he's like, I didn't really hate his Schottenheimer's offenses in Seattle as much as everybody seemed to, and I was like, oh great, now everybody's going to get me excited about this. But
Right.
But it's like the staff that they put together here has been hasn't been like, I think when Wade Phillips was there, they hired Garrett. Garrett eventually took over. They eventually brought in Kellen Moore was, played for the team and then eventually joined under Scott Linehan and then worked his way up through into the offensive coordinator position. And then when McCarthy was brought on, they said, hey, we want you to keep Kellen here to run the offense. This time, they pretty much just kind of cleaned house. They promoted Schottenheimer, but then once he was promoted, there were a couple of holdovers. Lunda Wells was one, but he's more one of the brighter talents that I think they like. But for the most part, they've actually let Schottenheimer go in and choose his own people, which is not what we've seen recently. And speaking of a departure from, the norms, it seems like, they're talking about it. I'll believe it when I see it. But Stephen Jones says they will be selectively aggressive in free agency. They are already talking to OSIS people, so they're already kind of trying to get out ahead of that to see, they're not just going to sit back and wait for the market to come to them, which I think is good. So it seems like, maybe they're kind of reevaluating what they can do in free agency, given that I mean, the Eagles tend to add people in free agency, but going out and finding the right pieces instead of just waiting for the first round of players to be signed and then going and picking in the bargain bin, which is what they've done for who knows how long now. I think the last big free agent signing that I can think of was Brandon Carr joining from Kansas City on 4 years, $60 million deal or something like that, or 5 years, $60 million. So hopefully we'll see when when free agency actually comes around. But I'm also cautiously optimistic.
If I can be so bold to suggest this, it sounds like the Cowboys and the Saints are kind of in the same space when it comes to free agency. I mean, the Saints in that they're not spending now with the Saints. We're $50 million over the cap, even with the bump in. I guess we should mention that the salary cap got a big bump going into next season, but so you're kind of doing so. If again, I'm just kind of this is what it sounds like from the Cowboys' perspective. You're kind of doing a soft rebuild where you're okay. We're going to take care of what we need to take care of, and let's hope we draft well. And then
what the kind of MO has been, we will the players that we draft who work out, we will keep on market deals.
right.
I think they've waited a little too long in situations, and that's kind of hurt them in terms of overpaying. Well, not overpaying, but then you're having to pay market price instead of getting out ahead of it early. Although a couple of times they've actually tried to get out ahead of it early with the guys like Jalen Smith and like Tyrone Crawford, and then those deals don't work out and you get burned by them. It's kind of a double-edged sword there, but yeah, it's like we'll pay the guys that we drafted and developed a lot of times unless we need to be able to replace them. I think Dalton Schultz was kind of one of those guys who thought he was going to get more money and then ended up going elsewhere. But yeah, they just kind of like, we'll shop in the bargain bin and then try to work through adding talent in the draft, which they've done a pretty good job on. We don't tend to trade up as often as the Saints. They were actually talking about the Saints on the Athletic Football podcast fairly recently, and they said that like part of what happened was the cap going down really killed the Saints during the COVID year.
that COVID year, that really hurt.
And then the Breeze retirement was also kind of a big blow to their cap too. So
and if I may, we drafted poorly.
Yeah.
Like again, if you draft well, then you can get away with some of these cap shenanigans, we'll call them. But I mean, we'll see. I just the way you were talking made me kind of think of the Saints too. And
they kind of operate in the same way. And I will say, like the Saints also like kind of burn themselves double in the fact that they were like spending picks instead of maximizing the number of resources that you had to take shots in the draft. You're just using too many of that to try to aim it. And if that player if you miss on that player, you're burned twice. Basically,
we've talked about in the past, like you think you're one player away, and you try to operate in that headspace, and turns out you're not. I'm going to use this to kind of transition to the next thing I want to talk about. Let me get the gentleman's name here. So, Michael Giannetti over at Spot Track, or I think that's how you pronounce it. He put together an article here. This is from last week of NFL cap casualty candidates. Did you happen to see this?
No, I have not.
Okay, so don't look at it.
Okay.
Don't pull it up, because he goes through each team, each of the 32 teams, and gives one potential cap casualty, as the article suggests. There's one that's kind of hilarious. Then we'll lead into a different topic here in a second. But do you want to guess who the Cowboys' potential cap casualty is?
I should know this. Um, let me think. It's probably going to be. I'm just looking at her because I had pulled up over the
Okay.
cap.
Okay.
I guess he's going to. I'm guessing he would say Terrence Steele, although I've heard him say that they won't be moving on from him. They're going to stick with him. Is that the?
It is.
That's
It
my
is
guess.
not Terrence Steele.
Okay.
It is Donovan Wilson.
Okay. Yeah, that would have
Safety
been
Donovan.
that would have been my next guess because he is
Yep.
he did not play particularly well this
Yep.
past season.
He is set to earn $7 million in 2025. Cowboys can free up to $5.85 million of the cap by moving on from him.
Mm.
Do you want to guess? You want to guess who the Saints candidate is?
Marcus
I was surprised. No, he's not on our team anymore, Brandon.
Hold on, let me pull up.
Although
let
I
me pull up the
wouldn't
roster.
mind. I'd put him back on the team just to cut him again. Honestly,
Haven't let you down one more time.
yeah, right.
Mm.
Now,
It's not Derek Carr, is it?
yes, it is.
Okay.
That is his. That's his game.
I was like, we talked about this on the show.
So-
how much money you can free up?
So I'll just give you the quick. It's not a long write up here. As usual, the Saints have a lot of work to do and potentially a lot of players to subtract just to get cap compliant for 2025. Because remember, boys and girls, you got to be cap compliant by the first day of the league year. The first day of the league year is like March 13th.
It's usually mid-March somewhere.
Yeah, but they may take a big swing by moving on from their QB1 before the remaining $30 million of his 2025 compensation becomes fully guaranteed on March 14th. Okay, so that's a deadline for that. New Orleans would still owe Carr a $10 million payment on his way out, and the contract carries $50.1 million of total dead cap on it this offseason, but signs still point to his release in the coming weeks. If the Saints designate Carr a post-June 1st release, they'll split that dead cap into 21.5 this year, 28.6 next year once June hits, though they'd still be carrying a $51.4 million cap hit for 3+ months. So basically, if you cut them post-June 1st, it doesn't help you till June. I think we've talked about this before, but
And this assumes that you don't find a trade partner for him, right?
right. I mean, ideally, but I think we read somewhere a couple weeks ago, like a trade doesn't help that much. I mean, it helps, but it like
Yeah, I think the biggest benefit with a trade would be a post June 1st trade, which would free up like a lot more money.
I don't know. So somebody suggested, I think it was the guys on Saints Block Party podcast even suggested, like, if you did something crazy where you took his base salary down and like paid him out in a bonus to make it easier to move off of him, like something, that they're going to have to do
so
some,
basically restructure and then cut.
yeah, like that's almost like what they'd have to do at this point, but I don't know. I know. So we should reiterate, you only get 2 post June 1 cuts. So Derek Carr is a candidate for that, but I've heard Cameron Jordan is a candidate for that. Maybe Taysom Hill, which if Taysom Hill gets cut, he goes to Denver like the next day. That's pretty much set in the stars. Shout out to Donnie, the Broncos fan. He'll enjoy Taysom Hill in the team. But the reason I bring this up, another reason I bring this article up is, would you like to know who the candidate of a cap casualty is for the Baltimore Ravens?
Oh, I know who this is. It's Mr. Justin Tucker.
Yes, you do. Yes, Mr. Justin Tucker. This is what Michael
I'm
wrote
surprised
about
that all of these allegations started coming out.
Well, this is what Michael wrote. He said things were heading in this direction even prior to the growing list of allegations that have been reported against him. Tucker has 3 years, $13.5 million remaining on his contract. None of it is guaranteed, and there are no early bonuses to contend with. So this is like the ideal scenario, right?
Yeah, you don't really restructure kickers' contracts to kind of drag them out.
Well, but when I say ideal, I mean like there's no guaranteed money left.
Well,
You got
that's what I'm talking about. Like they haven't restructured it to kind
Right.
of build up that dead cap hit.
Unfortunately, a few sizable salary conversions in recent off seasons means the contract holds $7.5 million dead cap against a $7 million cap hit. Outright release this March actually comes up with a cap loss of $455,000. I'm sorry, $445,000. Post June 1 designation could free up to $4.2
million.
$2 million in June. So there you go. They also mentions a couple other notable ones here. Kirk Cousins for the Falcons. I think we saw this one already. Gerald Everett for the Bears. I think that already happened, right? Didn't they already? Did I see that?
I haven't seen anything.
He mentioned Joel Bitonio for the Browns. Bitonio actually may just retire. So add that. There's another potential future Hall of Fame offensive lineman that retires this offseason. Saints legend Alex Anzalone from the Lions. Jari Alexander from the Packers. That almost seems destined to happen. Our boy Gardner
Jair Alexander.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's that almost seems like a foregone conclusion at this point.
The Bears did release Gerald Everett and DeMarcus Walker.
Okay, so there you go. For the Raiders, Gardner Minshew. So Minshew Mania may be running wild somewhere else next year. For the Rams, Cooper Kupp. I know they're probably going to try to trade him. That was the last I heard. Right. Another receiver for the Dolphins, Tyreek Hill. That's interesting.
Well, he had made comments on Twitter. He eventually walked it back about, I'm done here.
I just want to see here. Hill. A pre-June 1 trade only frees up $401,250 of cap space for the Dolphins. Hill's owed $28 million plus, and another couple of receivers here. Devontae Adams from the Jets. That's no surprise. Deebo Samuel from the 49ers. That's another trade possibility. Tyler Lockett from the Seahawks. I feel like Tyler Lockett may still have something left in the tank, maybe. And then this came up this week too. Not a wide receiver, but a defensive lineman for the Commanders, Jonathan Allen. He has been granted permission to seek a trade by the Commanders.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
How unfortunate.
I don't know if I think I read somewhere where I don't know if it's he doesn't fit into Quinn's defense or I'm not sure, but yeah. But Allen is 30 years old. He's entering a contract year. He's set to earn $16.3 million against a $22.3 million cap hit, $6 million to dead cap. Washington can free up some cap space, so there you go.
I wonder if that would be a good Osa. I don't know if they would trade within the division, but like using Allen as like an Osa replacement.
You'd have to wait for him to get released, probably. But would Osa go to Washington? Does Osa have a relationship with Quinn? Maybe.
Maybe.
And he goes to Washington.
But then they also have to pay him $24 million. So.
Yeah, I don't know about that. All right, so there's a little free agency news. We mentioned some retirements. You mentioned Zach Martin. I talked about Joel Bitonio. Another, I guess for 1 year, Cowboy legend Jason Peters announced his retirement today. He goes out of champion somewhat. I mean, he didn't play in the Super Bowl, but he was on the roster for the Eagles. So.
Are you talking about the 2017?
Jason 2017.
Peters? Yeah, he wasn't on the team this year.
He wasn't on the team at all? I thought he was on the roster.
It doesn't show him as having – if he was on the roster, he didn't play any because it does not have him listed
Okay.
He was a
Well,
Super Bowl
I
champion in 2017, though.
okay. Well, I saw this. I think what got me confused is I saw Lane Johnson when they ran onto the field for the Super Bowl this year. Lane Johnson had like a Jason Peters jersey with him or something. So maybe
Wow.
I don't know. Maybe it was. I must have got confused. So let's talk a little bit about. You want to talk about some international games real quick?
Sure. I know we've got the Steelers in Dublin playing
Yeah.
the.
Hang on one
Is
second.
that,
I got.
is that confirmed as the Packers?
So the only thing that's confirmed is oh, that was sorry, I went to the wrong account. Only thing that is confirmed is the host teams,
Okay.
as far as I know. So week 1, they're going back to Brazil. Host team that week will be the Chargers. And then 3 teams have London games this year: the Jets, the Browns, and the Jaguars. Jets and Browns are in Tottenham.
hmm
Jaguars are in Wembley.
Boy, we really shipped them off the dregs, didn't we?
So yeah, all 3 of those teams pick in the top 10 of the draft this year. So, for what it's worth, the Colts will host the game in Berlin. So maybe Germany gets a little bit better game this year. The Dolphins will host a game in Madrid. And as you mentioned a second ago, the Steelers will host the game in Dublin. But as of yet, I don't have I don't see anywhere where they have confirmed. I've heard rumblings about who their opponents may be, but yeah, nothing confirmed yet.
There's no one's taken a reservation yet.
Right. Well, anybody can just take them. You gotta
You got to hold. That's really the most important part of the reservation.
The reservation.
A hold.
So I know we mostly talk NFL on the show, but I wanted to. This came across my Twitter account today, and it's caught my eye, so I thought we'd talk about it. It's the UFL, the Spring Football League.
Formerly the XFL and USFL.
Correct. Yep. Did you watch any of the UFL last year? I know there's a team in Arlington that you maybe.
No, I call them my team because they play in the former Rangers Stadium.
Right.
But I did not watch. I did go to when the XFL was originally starting back in 2020. I did go to a game when they were playing in U of H Stadium.
Oh yeah,
I think they still might. They were.
No, they
do.
Yeah,
it was the
Roughnecks.
Houston Roughnecks, the Seattle Dragons, and then 1 week later, like COVID shut it down.
That's a shame.
It was fun. I enjoyed it.
That was actually that weekend. If it's the same weekend I'm thinking of, I ran my first 10K at Minute Maid. They had you don't run in the actual stadium, but like you run kind of the area around.
You're gonna have to go a lot of laps to get 10K.
Yeah, no. You run like in the downtown area around Minute Maid, but you start and end at Minute Maid.
Gotcha.
And then like the next week, everything shut down. But the UFL. So the reason I want to bring this up is the UFL. A lot of times, the NFL will take some of their rules from
like the kickoff.
Like the kickoff is the best example. But I wanted to. The UFL is kind of updating their kickoff formation or their kickoff rules. So I wanted to run these by you, see how it tastes. So in the UFL this year, kickoffs will now start from the 30-yard line as opposed to the 20-yard line from last season.
Okay.
The 10 remaining players on the kickoff team will line up at the receiving team's 40-yard line.
Okay.
All kicking team players were at the 20-yard line, including the kicker last season. So I guess they were, So they're doing kind of what the NFL does with you got the kicker, and then you have the the row of players there.
Right.
The receiving team's setup zone will stretch from its 35 to the 30 and must have at least 9 players in that zone.
Okay.
So it means you can have 2 deep.
So you're allowing them more freedom of formation instead of just on a line.
Yeah. Yeah,
opposite.
sounds like it. Yeah. Last season, the receiving team had to have a minimum of 8 players, but no more than 9 in their setup zone, which was the kicking team's 30 to 40. So instead of a 10-yard zone, now it's a 5-yard zone.
Okay.
The landing zone will be the receiving team's 20 to the goal line. So
Okay.
looks like the landing zone. They don't say what the landing zone was last year, but that's a pretty big landing zone. How big was the landing zone in the
I
NFL?
think, I don't. That doesn't sound like too much of a change, though.
Okay, maybe not. The ball must reach the landing zone, or it will be spotted at the 40. So you can't bounce it into the landing zone. It's got to reach the landing zone.
Uh-huh.
There will be 2 touchback spots. Balls that get kicked into the end zone, it'll be a touchback at the 35.
Okay.
Balls that hit in the landing zone and then enter the end zone will result in a touchback at the 20.
Okay.
So if you let it,
you're trying to get it. They're trying to incentivize returns, basically.
Right. So if you let it bounce and it gets into the end zone, you're starting at the 20.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if the guy just kicks it straight out the back of the end zone, it's the 35. All touchbacks were at the 25-yard line last season for the UFL.
What if the kicker nails the cheerleader in the head? Do you get bonus points for this?
Nothing in here about that.
Shout out to Brandon Aubrey.
There you go. This does remind me, though, the NFL competition committee, they're meeting this week at the Combine, and one of the rules that's up for grabs, as it were, is touchbacks, moving the touchbacks to the 35 as opposed to the 30.
You're skipping over the most important rule up for review right now.
Remind me.
The Green Bay put a motion.
Oh, yes, of course, and they admitted it today. I forget who was on the podium at the Combine. It might have been LaFleur. I don't think it was LaFleur. It may have been their general manager was up there and said, "Yeah, we were the ones." Like,
yep. Now, if we could just get the guy who didn't vote for Ichiro on the Hall of Fame ballot,
right? I know Raheem Morris, the head coach of the Falcons.
Mm-hmm.
They asked him about it today at the Combine, and he's against it.
It's not. I mean, like, you're not allowed to. I mean, I think we should just get rid of the pushing players, because defensive players aren't allowed to you can't push guys up to block field goals.
Right.
So, why are we allowing offensive players to push each other? And I would also get rid of the once a guy is forward progress is stopped and you got guys running in to kind of shove the pile forward. I'd want to get rid of that too. Just get rid of the pushing. It's not a football play.
It's enough of the pushing.
Enough of the pushing.
But yeah, getting back to the kickoff rule, the touchback coming out to the 35. I remember when they were going through this whole reconfiguration of the kickoffs. I remember Sean Payton saying he thought the kickoff should be at the 35 because what you're doing is you're basically forcing the kicking team to kick it or to make it returnable. Because in a late game situation, and we've seen this somewhat, but in a late game situation, if the touchback's coming out to the 30, you're more likely to just kick it out of the back of the end zone than if it's coming out to the 35.
Right.
Was his thought. Maybe they go to this 2 touchback thing like the UFL here. That's kind of interesting, I think.
Yeah.
To have
we'll see how it works.
But again, it has to reach. If it doesn't reach the landing zone at all, so you can't squib kick it, because if you squib kick it, then it's the 40.
Right.
If it hits out, or I guess you could squib kick it. You just have to.
You just kind of have to line drive it, basically.
You have to line drive it, yeah. Also, this is also a topic of discussion right now in the NFL. The UFL onside kicks in the UFL.
Are they
The
doing the
league,
fourth down?
yes,
Okay.
the league has eliminated onside kicks. The kickoff team will be able to retain possession of the ball with a 4th down and 12-yard scrimmage play from their own 28.
Okay. So you're trying to get to the 40.
Trying to get to the 4, yeah. So now I guess so let's say that happens. So let's say team A decides, okay, we're going to go for this onside, quote unquote. 4th and 12 from the 28. Let's say they get to the 37, so they don't make it. Does team B get it at the 37?
That's the question, because otherwise that's kind of, I was going to say, like, that's kind of a burn if you're going for that opportunity, like you're kind of, screwed with the field position, because with a regular onside kick you would get the ball, around midfield.
Right.
If you failed, like the receiving team would get it. Now the opposite team would get the ball like at the 28-yard line.
Here's what I would say. I'm just going to say this for the UFL. I won't say it for the NFL. But like in the UFL, right, you've got, I would say if the team A misses the fourth down play, then team B should get it at their 40. At their,
I think that's
So not the opposition's 40, at their own 40.
Yeah.
I think that's the.
What would be a good? What I'm curious about is, like, we've seen the steady increase of teams going for it on 4th down. Would a team eventually get to the point where they just, every time we score, we're going for the onside attempt?
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. So the reason this came up in the NFL is because the rule right now is you can onside kick, but you have to declare it, and you can only do it. You have to be behind, and it can only be in the 4th quarter, right?
Right.
Because this came up in the Super Bowl, because like the Chiefs were coming back, but it was only the 3rd. It was like late 3rd, so they couldn't onside kick yet. They couldn't. So
yeah, that's what I don't like about I like the new kickoff. I don't like the fact that it killed the onside kick.
Yeah. Well, as a Saints fan,
and especially the surprise onside, Sean Payton doesn't get that chance.
I think I think if the NFL will eventually, they'll toy around with this. I think eventually we'll get to a point where, now the thing Rich Eisen brought up on his show is, okay, if it's a 4th down play, so like it's a 4th and 12, like the UFL's doing, what do you do on a pass interference? What do you do on?
I wonder if you just run it back.
So that was the suggestion. So the suggestion was, because I mean, if you're a defense and they're just chucking a ball up deep, well, just hold a guy.
And they have to do it again.
You kind of like the Commanders were doing with the tush push, right? They kept jump, which I still think he was trying to time it up, but I mean, you get the idea. But yeah, eventually you get to a point where it's like, okay, if we keep doing this defensive, I'd say either you retry or you half the distance to the goal so you make it a 4th and 6.
Right. Like a 5-yard penalty, or you could just do like a 5-yard penalty or something like that.
Yeah, or something like that. They should have us in the room, Brandon. We gotta.
I was gonna say one of my favorite things that the NFL stole from the original XFL. Do you know what that is?
Oh, the camera.
The camera, yeah, that was original in the XFL.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that from the. I watched the 30 for 30 on the XFL.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. That was a good 30 for 30 too.
It was in the first. That was like one of their first ones, I think. It was like season 1 of that series or whatever you want to call it. All right. Any other news and notes we want to go over? We'll get into more of the combine stuff here in a second. But before that, I think we're going to watch the Watchers.
I'm watching the Watchers, Jerry.
Uh-oh. We got a big uh-oh this week.
We got a big uh-oh. Okay, so as we said, the combine is this week. We are recording this on Tuesday. they've had interviews like availabilities today. I think tomorrow they'll do some more with some teams. The only two teams that I'm aware of that are not making their coach and GM available are the Saints and the Rams. Don't know. I mean, I could guess in the Saints' perspective why, because Kellen Moore is still trying to hire his staff. But the Rams, I don't know.
Two
Maybe
teams
because the
that have no connection to each other. Absolutely no connection.
Yeah. Well, the Rams, I don't think the Rams go to the combine.
No, they
if I
don't.
remember correctly.
Mhm.
Yeah, if I remember correctly.
They stopped doing that under McVay.
They don't believe in it.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to do is just quickly go through again. We'll talk more about the combine in depth here in a second, but I just want to go through the schedule of events here. Just kind of let you know what's happening when. So the workouts and all that good stuff starts on Thursday. Where was that? I had this article pulled up and then I clicked away from it. So that's my fault there.
It's in there somewhere.
It's somewhere. Yeah,
Maybe they took it down off the internet.
I mean, they're trying to silence us, Jerry. 2025 combine schedule. So I know day one, I want to say, is the defensive line. So Thursday will be defensive line and the linebackers doing their drills. Then Friday, it'll be defensive backs, so the corners and the safeties, and the tight ends. Both of those start at 3 p.m. Eastern time. So if you're watching on NFL Network, which now that I work from home, I will probably have it on, to be honest with you. Saturday is kind of the main event of the weekend. That's the quarterbacks, the running backs, and the wide receivers. That starts at 1 p.m. Eastern. And then on Sunday, March 2nd, offensive line, which I believe I saw they split the offensive line into two groups. They don't split them up by tackles and guards. They just kind of alphabetize them and then just cut it down the middle and go from there. With the quarterbacks, and so I think the running backs, they all put in one group. Quarterbacks and receivers, they combined and put them in, because obviously quarterbacks are also going to be throwing to the receivers as part of the whole process. They also, I honestly don't know why. I mean, I guess it makes sense, but the tight ends kind of get left out. Well, not left out, but like you would think they would try to put the tight ends with the receivers and the quarterbacks. It almost would make more sense to have the running backs and defensive backs go on the same day. But I don't know. What do I know? That's just me spitballing. But yes, that's kind of the schedule of events here. Combine, of course, will take place in Indianapolis at the what is it? Lucas Oil Stadium. I almost said the Hoosier Dome, but that's not right.
I was gonna say the RCA. RCA.
The RCA Dome, yeah, right. The house that Peyton built.
Right.
Peyton Manning, not Sean Payton. Okay, real quick, there's just a rundown of the drills. So obviously the 40-yard dash, that's the big one everybody oohs and ahs over. The bench press, 225 pounds. How many can you do in a session there? Vertical jump, broad jump, 20-yard shuttle, 60-yard shuttle, 3-cone drill. There's some individual drills based on position. Obviously, we talked about with quarterbacks, we'll be throwing to the receivers. They'll also throw to the tight ends on their day as well. So if we want to, we'll talk about that here in a minute, because we're going to kind of do a draft here in a second of combine participants. So, but before we get to that, let's look at a couple mock drafts I got pulled up here. You've actually seen and given your thoughts on this first one, but
let me summarize. To lead off, it's Mel Kiper's draft 2.0, and here are my thoughts.
Well, it sucks.
Yeah,
So I think we can lead off. We can lead off with the Cowboys here, because I saw on Twitter.
Hold on. That the other clip you could have said was or something along the lines of what Frank told Steinbrenner. It was, what the hell you trade Jay Buhner for?
Yeah.
Something
Um,
along those lines.
Something along those lines. Yeah. So my comment when I saw this pick was I said I kept saying I wish people would stop mocking Ashton Genty to the Cowboys, and then the monkey's paw curled its finger because Mr. Mel Kiper does not have the Cowboys drafting Ashton Genty. They have them drafting Omarion Hampton, who is fine. Like I like Omarion Hampton.
Yeah.
I don't want. I'm not taking him at 12.
Right.
Mr. Kiper, we have a problem here.
Just gonna go through some of these other picks. He's got Abdul Carter going number 1 to the Titans. Abdul Carter will not be participating in drills at the combine this weekend because
It seems like he's basically the consensus.
he's consensus, and also I believe he's got a shoulder injury that he's still recovering from. So, or at least that's part of the reason. By the way, if they do add Abdul Carter, he mentioned this. Mel mentions this in his article. You've got Abdul Carter, Jeffrey Simmons, and Tavondre Sweat on that defensive line for the Titans. That's
pretty
not
good.
Bad. That's not
pretty
bad.
Good.
Now, if only you had a quarterback, but you can figure that out. Speaking of quarterbacks, Cleveland Browns, he has selecting Cam Ward out of Miami. Cam Ward will not be throwing. Well, sorry, he's on the fence. He's still deciding whether he's going to throw or not at the combine. I mean, I don't know what the harm is. I mean, he feels like he's the number 1 quarterback right now. So I guess he could only hurt his case if he,
right.
Like George once said, my presence can only hinder my case or something like, yeah.
Something along those lines.
Something along those lines. Mel has at number 3, he has the Giants not picking a quarterback, but picking Travis Hunter, who
another pick.
It sucks.
Okay, yeah. I heard one of the GMs, I forget for which team, it might have been the Browns, say that they evaluated Hunter as a wide receiver.
Okay.
They envision him as a wide receiver. And then I think the Titans said they envision him as a corner. So I mean, who knows what the Giants envision him as? But we'll see. Patriots, he's got the Patriots going Will Campbell, offensive lineman from LSU. He's got the Jaguars going Mason Graham. By the way, did we there was another article I was going to bring up. I think I brought it up last week from PFF from Trevor Sikkema. He kind of went through the top 20 prospects and gave like a NFL comp. We went
through that.
And we said, because Mason Graham's comp was our guy, Leroy Glover.
Right?
Yeah. Okay. I thought we did. I just couldn't remember. Your guy. So he didn't mock Ashton Genty to the Cowboys because he already mocked him to the Raiders at 6, which that would be such a Raiders pick, honestly. They already. I mean, look, they've got Brock Bowers. Why not get Ashton Genty to go along with that? Don't know who the quarterback's going to be, but again, we can figure that out. Interesting spot at number 7 here for the Jets. He has Shedeur Sanders going to New York, but not the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't go to the Jets. I read somewhere today, Jets front office is comfortable with Tyrod Taylor being the starting quarterback next year. I mean, I don't know. I will say this. I saw or I read a little bit about Aaron Glenn's presser at the Combine. Came away very impressed. I think the Jets made the right hire at head coach. Just hearing him talk about kind of his philosophy and all that. Obviously, I wish him well. He's a former Saint, former Cowboy as well. So hopefully for our good friend Chris over at this podcast is making me thirsty. Hopefully they can do something. I mean, I don't know. We'll see what happens with Shedeur. I think he's going to be kind of the interesting one. I mean, I could see him going to the Raiders, obviously. He's not going to Jacksonville. He's not going to New England. The Giants, I find it hard pressed that the Giants are going to pass on Shador at this point.
Really? I don't.
You know,
I can see them passing. I just don't. I don't know.
I
I
don't
feel
know.
like Cam Ward is where I feel like they're going.
The Giants?
Yeah.
So they're going to trade up. They're going to try to trade up and get.
Well, I mean that
Uh,
depends on. It depends on what you think
well,
of what
the other
Cleveland
thing
does is the question.
So here's the thing I'll mention. Tennessee, basically, Mike Borgonzi, their new GM.
Uh
I
huh.
think he basically intimated at his presser today that they're open for business at one. So make them an offer. The other thing with Cleveland that you mentioned, if Cleveland does move off of Miles Garrett this offseason, which they are steadfast saying they're not going to do, but if they do trade Miles Garrett, you kind of need to replace Miles Garrett, and Abdul Carter might be the 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 fit for that. But we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Number 8, Carolina Panthers. He has them picking Jalen Walker. That's high. I haven't seen him that high in other mocks. I will say another shout out to the guys over at Saints Block Party Podcast. They did kind of a scouting report on Jalen Walker, and the comp they came up for. I think it was Ryan on that show came up with for him was Clay Matthews coming out of USC. So
Okay.
Clay Matthews was pretty good. I mean, so we'll see if Walker is. For the Saints, they have them going with Tyler Warren, tight end out of Penn State. The best comp I've heard for him, and I will say Mel's reasoning in his little write up makes sense. Juwan Johnson is a free agent. Taysom Hill's got a torn ACL, and he's also 34 and probably might be a cap casualty. We kind of talked about that earlier. So there's really no tight ends on the roster. I mean, we'll have Foster Moreau, but he could be a cap casualty as well. So I don't mind the thought. I don't know if I want to pick him at 9.
Right.
Ideally, I'd like to trade back, but again, we've talked about.
You know, Mickey Loomis loves to do that.
One thing I will point out, Mike McDaniel for the Dolphins was talking today, and he mentioned another former Saints legend, Teron Armstead. Looks like he may retire. Another offensive line great that might retire this offseason because he's just been battling injuries for a while. But he, if he retires, Armstead that is, the Dolphins are at 13. If maybe Will Campbell falls, or maybe they like your guy Kelvin Banks out of UT, maybe they call the Saints at 9 and maybe can trade up for some. Because look, if you draft Tyler Warren at 13, okay, I don't hate that. But if you draft him at 9, I don't know. Yeah. And then he has for our friend Andy, the Bears fan, he's got the Bears picking Josh Simmons, offensive tackle out of Ohio State. This is really high. So your guy, Kelvin Banks, has been the offensive tackle number 2 after Will Campbell. I've seen a lot of these drafts. And in some cases, I've seen Kelvin Banks going 1. Josh Simmons, I've usually seen him in like late round 1, early round 2. So I don't know. Mel's pretty good at this. So maybe
And I'll say that I think Dane Brugler was on the Athletic Football Podcast, and he kind of talked about Banks, and he was a little bit less enamored, and I think he probably had a more toward where Kuiper's got him ranked, just because of I think it was some mechanical issues that he thought he had problems with, like getting out, kind of leaning forward a little bit sometimes, and so like some of his mechanical issues, he worried about that, and so I think that's maybe what's driving the push down the board.
I mentioned the Dolphins potentially going offensive line. He has them going with Armand Mimbo out of Missouri, who's kind of got some versatility, tackle or guard. So that'd probably be a good spot for them. He has Tyler Booker out of Alabama, who is a pure guard, going number 18 to the Seahawks. I know the Seahawks could use some offensive line. He's got a linebacker, Jihad Campbell, going to Tampa Bay. Again, I've seen Jihad Campbell going like early round 2, but not round 1. So that'd be interesting there.
I think one of the interesting thing I think about this mock and what I've seen starting to trend is that the receivers are starting to get pushed down, and that's
Yep.
across the board.
That's
I
what I
think
was.
it's
Yep.
Abuka, Tet, Burton's not even on this draft, and
Right.
they're starting to fall, which actually makes me hopeful that the Cowboys could like trade back and still get somebody that you like in the first round, or you could go a different position and then try to get a wide receiver in the second, like the kind of value that you'd actually expect from the first. So I think that's actually a development that's kind of plays into the Cowboys' hands here a little bit.
Yeah. The other thing I'll mention, the pick. So there's always like this one pick that kind of gets locked in. It's like, yeah, this guy is going to this team, and it ends up happening. Right now, it looks like that's Colston Loveland, the tight end from Michigan, going to the Broncos. Sean Payton mentioned at one point this offseason they're looking for a joker in their offense, kind of similar to what they had with what the Saints had with Taysom Hill. I mean, they could just go sign Taysom Hill maybe here in a couple weeks,
Once they
but
get the Joker, they'll have a toker. They'll need a toker and a midnight
and a
smoker.
Midnight Smoker, that plays his music on the run.
Yes,
Yeah, so Colston Loveland. I didn't realize Loveland was that kind of player. I mean, he definitely is a good tight end. You know, but I didn't realize he had that kind of skill set. It would also be interesting to have a former Michigan Wolverine in the AFC West that's not playing for the Chargers. So just food for thought. Yeah, you talked about the receivers, Abuka, Ted McMillan. I think the Chargers would be thrilled if Teteroa McMillan dropped to 22 because they're looking for someone to pair with McConkey to go with
they're looking for
Herbert.
any sort of offensive firepower they can get.
Right. Right. The other one I'll mention here, this one feels like a good match too. Gray Zabel, I think I mentioned him on a show a couple weeks ago. He's this offensive lineman out of North Dakota State, played all over the line. Mel has him going at 24 to the Vikings. That just seems like, low moving costs from North Dakota State to Minnesota there. You mentioned your guy Kelvin Banks going to Houston. I mean, Houston needs offensive line for God's sakes. Jesus
Right.
Christ. They're going to get C.J. Stroud injured back there. He's got a run on offensive linemen here. He's got Zabel, then Banks, and then the Rams going with Josh Connerly. This pick could change, I guess, depending on the Matthew Stafford. We hadn't really talked about the Matthew Stafford situation. I don't think he's going anywhere, honestly. I think at this point he's just
We'll see.
we'll
I
see.
don't know.
I know the Rams basically gave him permission to tamper,
Right.
so that they could figure out a deal potentially. Yeah, I think that's all the picks I wanted. Who does he have the Eagles taking? Oh, Walter Nolan from Ole Miss. I will say, I don't think he has this guy going in the first round. So there was, I forget the guy's name. It's not Trevor Sikkema, but someone else on PFF. They were doing draft like best spots for these players kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And this one person mentioned if James Pierce, the edge rusher from Tennessee, ends up going to Philadelphia, people are going to be wondering how did they let James Pierce go to Philadelphia? It's going to be kind of like a Nolan Smith type pick down the road. So just thought I'd throw that out there. Speaking of PFF, excuse me. Oh, one other real quick on Mel's draft. He's got your guy Jahdae Barron from UT going to
the Bills.
The Bills. Yeah. He might end up being a Saint. He might be a
Maybe
Saint
he'll
because
cover. Maybe he'll cover Xavier Worthy.
Yeah,
get a little
there you
Texas
go.
on Texas action.
There you go. That'd be cool. All right, real quick, I do want to run through. Speaking of PFF, they did a 7-round mock for each team. So I just want to go real quick through the 7-round mock for the Cowboys and the Saints. See how you like this. I think you'll like this 7-round mock for the Cowboys. Round 1, pick 12, wide receiver, Luther Burden III, Missouri.
Thumbs up for me.
All right. Round 2, pick 46, running back, Cam Skattebo from Arizona State.
That seems rich.
Okay.
Second
He's the
round for
next.
Scadabus.
He's the next Mike Allstott. Didn't you hear?
Yeah. Sure.
It's kind of a lazy. If I'm being honest, it's kind of a lazy
It is.
comp. But
White boy run over people.
right.
Okay.
Round 3, pick 76, edge rusher Quandarius Robinson from Alabama.
Okay.
I mean, defensive players from Alabama are usually good.
Usually.
I don't know. Usually,
Maybe not
this will
Mark
make you.
Terry.
This might. I don't know. I don't know how you'll feel about this. How about round 5, pick 150, another running back, Joquavius Marks from USC. They describe him as the lightning to Scadabo's thunder.
I don't know about that.
Well, isn't
Giving
Rico
Mark, giving
Rico's a
Marks
free
is,
agent, right?
huh?
Rico's a free agent, right?
Yes.
So
But I
you
think
guys,
you could probably bring him back on a team friendly deal. I
okay,
don't. I'm not convinced that he's going to get paid.
okay. You're not going to like this one, I don't think. Round 5, pick 170. Not necessarily the position. Linebacker Danny Stutzman from Oklahoma.
Okay.
We'll move on.
We'll move on.
Round 5, pick 172. Offensive lineman Emory Jones from LSU.
Ooh.
He's got a little versatility to him. I think he could play tackle.
Yeah,
or,
I think we kind of need that. We're gonna have to replace Martin this year.
Yeah. Round 5, pick 175, defensive interior, Junior Tafuno. Apologies if I mispronounced that, from Utah.
Okay.
Round 6, pick 188, wide receiver Keandre Lambert Smith from Auburn. So you've got an Alabama and an Auburn player there.
I hope they don't fight each other.
Ugh. You know what's funny? I was doing a mock draft a couple days ago, and in the first round, Mason Graham fell to the Saints. So I was like, all right, taking him. Like, no questions asked. And then I got to round 2, and like the best defensive edge rusher was Jack Sawyer from Ohio State.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, ugh, I don't know about that. I don't know if I want to.
You don't want the strings to cross.
Right. And then for the Cowboys, their last pick here, round 6, pick 211, quarterback. Here's your quarterback, Max Brosmer from Minnesota.
All right.
And for
I'm
what
not
it's
familiar
worth,
with his work.
well, here's a one sentence write up. Brosmer was the best in his class at protecting the ball under pressure, committing just one turnover worthy play when affected by the pass rush in 2024.
I'll take that.
Now, look, in Minnesota, I don't think he's throwing the ball a lot, but yeah.
I'm guessing the level of confidence. Well, that's in the Big Ten, isn't it?
That's big. Yeah, I mean, he played Penn
That's
State.
that's
He plays. Yeah. I'll go through the Saints really quick, just for my amusement. We've got pick 9, Shamar Stewart from Texas A&M, edge rusher. I've seen him mocked to the Saints. They mentioned a comp of Calais Campbell in here. I'd be okay with that. Here's our guy. Round 2, pick 40, tight end Elijah Arroyo.
Ooh, there you go.
There's my
Jeremy
Jimmy
Shockey.
Graham's Jeremy Shockey. Yeah, there's my Jeremy Shockey. Here you go, Brandon. Round 3, pick 71, your guy from Texas, Alfred Collins, defensive interior.
All right.
I wouldn't mind that. So we'd have a A&M and a UT. Again, might have some issues in the locker room there. Pick 93 in round 3. This is the pick we got from the Washington Commanders in the Lattimore trade. This would be safety Kevin Winston Jr. from Penn State. Pick 111, round 4, running back DJ Giddens from Kansas State. I mean, hey, Darren Sproles went to Kansas State and he played pretty well for the Saints, so why not? I wanted them to draft Deuce Vaughn a couple of years ago.
Let me tell you, he has not turned out to be the second coming of Darren Sproles, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's a shame. Pick 130 in round 4. This has the Saints going tackle Chase Lunt out of Connecticut. We do need some offensive. We still need some offensive line. I do like to see this 4-year starter at Connecticut. 6 sacks allowed and over 1,500 pass blocking snaps. That's pretty good. Round 6, pick 186. Here's a quarterback I don't hear talked about a lot, but I'm interested to see where he goes. Dylan Gabriel from Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the size is an issue, but I mean, he played a lot of college football, won a good number of games, has a good completion percentage, those kind of things. I mean, look, we know at Oregon they run their offense a little different than everybody else, but I'm just curious to see where he ends up. Even if it is, I'm not saying I want him on the Saints. I don't know. I do think the Saints. I would be shocked if the Saints don't draft a quarterback in this draft. I'm not saying they're going to go like round 1 or 2, but I do think they're going to draft somebody.
Someone that Derek Carr can mentor and kind of show the ropes to.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, sure. And finally, for the Saints, round 7, pick 254, guard from Wisconsin, Joe Huber. I mean, offensive lineman from Wisconsin seems like a good idea, right? Like that.
Yeah.
Seems like.
I mean, the Cowboys drafted Travis Frederick, and that turned out
there
pretty
you
well.
go. There you go. There's your guy. All right. Real quick. Our friend, well, he's not our friend, but over at ESPN, Matt Miller had an article. I did want to talk about this with you real quick. Where is it here? I'm just all out of sorts today.
You just lost all your links.
Lost all my links.
What about your cufflinks? Did you leave them in the bird?
He was weak and stupid. Actually, I apologize. It's not Matt Miller. This is Bill Barnwell at ESPN. He came out with an article, best players available on offense for free agency. This is free agency. So he went through the quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, offensive line, and he put them into tiers, 6 tiers.
Why did he make him cry like that?
Yeah, I don't know. That was not very nice of Mr. Barnwell. So tier 1 is franchise players, tier 2 is Pro Bowl caliber, tier 3 is capable starter, tier 4 is borderline starter, high-end backup, and tier 5 is backup likely to net guaranteed money. I like how he phrases that. And then tier 6 is backup likely to earn a roster spot. So do you want to guess for quarterbacks how many tier 1?
I'm sorry, I've got this. I got this pulled up. Yeah, I've got it pulled up. It's 0. Why don't you just? I'll just tell you how many there are.
Yeah, so he has no franchise players for quarterback, no Pro Bowl. He's got Sam Darnold in the capable starter. I guess that's fair.
Yeah.
For borderline starter, high-end backup, he's got Justin. I haven't heard a lot of talk about Daniel Jones. I feel like he's kind of somebody's going to take a chance on him, right?
Somebody actually, the Locked On Cowboys podcast thought that actually that might be that's actually bringing him into Dallas would not be the worst decision in the world.
Why not?
I wouldn't. I've seen. I mean, there are worse options I think out there. So
I wouldn't mind him for the Saints, honestly. Okay, if you get rid of Carr and you bring in Daniel Jones to compete with Rattler and whoever you draft, I don't hate that. I don't hate that idea. It does look like Russell Wilson or Justin Fields. One of those two is going back to Pittsburgh. Not both, though. It does look like that's the word on the street. Although I would find it hilarious if I know Pittsburgh's been in the Matthew Stafford talk, but I just don't see Stafford wanting to go play in the cold after playing indoors for all of his career, really. If you look at Detroit and then the Rams. The the backups, tier 5, you got the usual names here: Flacco, Garoppolo, Drew Lock, Cooper Rush, your guy with the Cowboys, Jameis Winston. I saw some Jameis Winston coming back to New Orleans chatter after Super Bowl. Sure, why not? And then tier 6, you got your other guy, Trey Lance. Looks like Trey Lance is out of the door in Dallas there. And
Yeah,
Zach
most
Wilson.
likely. Hey,
Zach
Easton
Wilson.
Stick.
Yeah, there's a name. Well, didn't Kellen Moore coached Easton Stick, didn't he? With
Yes.
the Chargers? Yeah, so maybe that's an option for the Saints.
Unless he
I don't
saw enough over there.
Yeah, right.
No.
Right.
Also, Case
go ahead.
Keenum's still in the league collecting those checks.
He's on that Chase Daniel program.
Yeah.
I was listening to Scoop City, which is Diana Rossini and Chase Daniel's podcast. And at the beginning of the podcast, Chase Daniel introduces himself as, I played 14 years in the NFL. And I went, good Lord, 14 years. Wow.
That's a Josh McCown type situation.
And how many games do you think we could look that up, I guess. How many games did Chase start? Not 14, I don't think. I don't think we could look it up.
Okay, hold on. Let's put a guess in.
All right, what do you got?
Starting Chase Daniel starting
a game, yes. In 14 years in the NFL.
9.
9? Okay, I'll give him benefit of the doubt. I'll say 11.
Okay.
I'm looking it up right now. Hang on. Game started 5.
Oh man.
So we both went over, but you got closest. He started 2 with the Chiefs and 3 with the Bears.
That's it.
That was it.
I think Josh McCown started way more than that.
Oh,
Josh
yeah.
McCown started 76.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say Luke McCown probably started more than 5.
Let's see. Luke McCown.
I know he started one for the Saints 1 year.
He started 10.
10? Okay. Moving on quickly here to the running backs. So no tier 1 running backs, no tier 2. Tier 3, we got Najee Harris and Aaron Jones. Yeah, that sounds about right. Tier 4, there's your guy Rico Dotto, J.K. Dobbins.
Like I said, I think you can get Rico Dowdle back on the pretty cheap.
There you go. Tier 5, he's got, let's see if any names interest here. Kareem Hunt. He might just go back to if I was him, I'd just go back to the Chiefs, honestly.
Daria Gumbawali and Elijah Mitchell.
There you go. Elijah Mitchell, alum of Louisiana University of Louisiana Lafayette. Thank you. Miles Sanders. Hey, remember when Miles Sanders was like, it was a big deal that the Panthers signed Miles Sanders.
They paid him a lot of money. That did not work out.
And then they drafted Jonathan Brooks anyway. Your guy from UT.
Well, they also had somebody else.
Oh yeah, no, I can't remember who it is, but yeah, they had somebody else.
Oh man,
their cup runneth over at running back, as it were. Yeah, tier 6, they do mention Jamal Williams as a potential cap casualty. I'd be shocked if Jamal Williams is back with the Saints. How about Amir Abdullah? They mentioned in this article.
Chuba Hubbard.
That's yeah, of course, yeah, Chuba Hubbard, yeah. Amir Abdullah had his first 100 career 100-yard game. He went for 115 in a win over the Saints.
I love tier 6 is firmly in immaculate grid mode.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Travis Homer.
Jeff Wilson Jr. He's a Cowboy legend, right?
Ooh.
Did he play for the Cowboys? Or no, I'm thinking of Cedric Wilson. I'm thinking of Cedric Wilson.
Yeah, I was going to say, Jeff Wilson does not sound like a name I recognize. No, he has been with the 49ers and the Dolphins.
Okay. So moving to wide receivers, I'm kind of surprised here. He doesn't have any tier one wide receivers.
Well, I mean,
He's got
the big name is going to be T. Higgins.
yeah, but he's got him in tier two, which I guess Higgins isn't a number one receiver. He's going to end up he's going to end up
gonna get
being a number one
more
receiver.
money. Yeah, but he's also hurt a lot, and that's
That's
like
That's true.
that's his problem.
He also
There is a-
mentioned Devontae Adams as a potential cap casualty in this. What were you going
Right.
to say? Sorry.
I was going to say, well, once we get to tier 3,
Yeah.
we've got Amari Cooper. And speaking of lack of availability, Amari Cooper. Remember when he got traded to the Bills, and we were like, "Oh, this is
Yeah.
a great addition for them."
Yeah.
How'd that work out?
I almost texted you the other day because like somebody said that Cowboys could bring in Amari Cooper. I'm like, wait a minute, isn't he? Oh, that's right. He.
What are you doing for the Bills?
So let me ask you this, because I've heard some of these names. If you look at this tier 3, so we got Hollywood Brown, Amari Cooper, Stefan Diggs, Chris Godwin. Of those 4, which would you like? If you were,
I like Godwin a lot.
Yeah, me too. That would be the one for me.
Diggs, I think we could probably get for a discount because I think him and Trayvon want to play together.
Right.
But I would prefer not to inject that into my locker room unless it's on like a 1 to 2 year, like a 2-year deal with like a team option after the first, or some way to get out of that quickly if it blows up.
Looking at tier 4, Saints
real
legend.
Quick. Would you like to guess how many yards received? So Amari Cooper played in 8 games with the Bills this year. Would you like to hazard a guess as to how many receiving yards he had in those 8 games total?
It was definitely less than 800.
It was. Yes, it was.
I want to go 350.
You're close. It was 297.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, man. And by the way, Buffalo just re-signed Khalil Shakir. He got a contract extension today. So good for him. 4 year. Well, so they signed his extension was 4 years, $60 million, and James Cook just so happens to want $15 million a year. So, yeah. So they might. I've heard James Cook might end up with a star on his helmet next year. How'd you feel about that?
Seems expensive.
No? Okay, well, fair enough. In tier 4 of wide receivers, I was going to say Saints legend Brandon Cooks. That feels high for Brandon Cooks. I'm going to be honest. One name I have seen potentially linked to the Saints here is Joshua Palmer from the Chargers. Not linked in that Ross Jackson over at Locked On Sports kind of identified Josh Palmer as somebody he feels the Saints should go after. And that was even before Kellen Moore was hired. So, a lot of guys in tier 5. They incorrectly have Marquez Valdez-Scantling as a Chief. He was a Saint, sir, most recently. Thank you very much. Mac Hollins, the guy who shows up with no shoes on all the place.
Wow, DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, they saw that too. The mighty have fallen. Nick Westbrook. Akine, thank you. I thought he was a pretty good receiver, even with Will Levis as his quarterback. I thought he was pretty good last year.
How old is he? He can't be that old, can he?
I want to say he might be in his 30s. Honestly, that's got to be the issue. No, he's 27.
Yeah, I would take a shot on him for.
He's gonna be he'll be 28 in a month. He's gonna turn 28 next month. So.
Wow, really over the hill.
Well, don't. Then I won't tell you my age. And then in tier 6, nobody here. Tyler Boyd, TJ Sharp. Hey, LaJordan Humphrey, UT alum.
James Jefferson, who I thought was going to be really good for the Rams a couple seasons ago.
Who was that?
Zay Jones. I
Oh,
was talking about Van Jefferson,
Van Jefferson. Yeah.
Robert Woods, Nelson
Sterling,
Aguilar.
honestly, in the tier 6, Sterling Shepard might be. He might be somebody that gets a look. He looked pretty good for the Bucks last year, and when Godwin got hurt, Shepard became kind of the number 2 receiver for the Bucks, and Baker seemed to trust him a good bit. So, Robert Woods, he's still playing. Jeez. Yeah. And then let's move on to the tight ends real quick. No franchise, no Pro Bowl. Evan Ingram, a capable starter. Yeah, sure. We talked about Gerald Everett a minute ago. Your guy, Zach Ertz. Yeah, I mentioned Juwan Johnson. I've seen Juwan Johnson actually listed as like maybe the best tight end available in some places. I don't know. He just never could catch on with the Saints.
Pretty low bar to clear.
Yeah, fair enough. You're telling me. Moving down to tier 6 here. Yeah, we're getting
Mercedes Lewis, another that guy's still in the league.
Man. Yeah. Oh, Hayden Hurst. There's another one. Yeah, and then offensive lineman. I forgot the offensive line was on here too.
Would you like to guess what year Mercedes Lewis was drafted?
Was it? Oh God, I know this. It was the same year as somebody that's coaching now. Isn't it like him and D'Amico Ryans got drafted in the same year or something? Like 2012? What was it?
2006.
Jesus Christ.
He's gonna play 20 seasons.
Jeez. Well, hey, good for him, man. I mean, well, see, 2006. That was a year the Saints drafted Jari Evans that year, and Jari Evans was up for the Hall of Fame this past. Speaking of guards, Trey Smith for the Chiefs. I know the Chiefs are. Diana Rossini on her podcast today said the Chiefs are making him a priority. They're trying to get Trey Smith signed. They don't want to franchise tag any of that. They want to get a deal done, but we'll see what happens. He definitely is the cream of the crop in terms of offensive linemen available. In tier 3, I'll mention Mekhi Becton for the Eagles. He played pretty well for the Eagles last year. The Saints were interested in Mekhi Becton when the Jets let him go. They just couldn't make it work, but maybe he's probably out of their price range now because he played so well with the Eagles last year. But we'll see. Ronnie Stanley from the Ravens, that's a good option there. Cam Robinson got traded to the Vikings from the Jaguars last year. Now he's on the market. Moving around, let's move down here to tier 4. Brandon Scherf. I remember when Brandon Scherf was like a big deal when he left Washington and he signed a big deal with the Jaguars, and now he's kind of maybe fallen off a little bit. Your guy, Tyron Smith from the Jets.
He's seen better days.
He has. Well, haven't we all? James Daniels, I've heard from the Steelers. I've heard his name. Nate Herbig, he has a brother, Nick, that plays in the league. I want to say he plays for the Steelers too, or does he not? Maybe not. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. Going down to tier 5 here. I don't think the Saints have anybody. Well, no. The Saints' only free agent that I'm aware of would be Lucas Patrick. Yeah, he's in tier 5 here. We got him from the Bears last year. Also, Andrus Peat. This is so hilarious. Andrus Peat was a first-round pick of the Saints, and everybody thought he stunk, basically. And then he got benched when they drafted Trevor Penning, and then Pete had to come in at left tackle, not in 24, but in 23. And he basically saved the Saints season. And when he left to go to the Raiders, it was like, oh, man, please come back. But C'est la vie. Yeah, nobody in tier 6. I don't think we want to mention here. I don't see anybody. Only name that kind of rings a bell to me is like Cody Whitehair, Dalton Risner from the Vikings, folks like that.
Oli Udo for the Saints.
Yeah, he was kind of we brought him in as kind of like for the jumbo packages. Like that's kind of what his role was. He was kind of a sixth offensive lineman. But when he did play, he wasn't. I didn't find him that effective. But no. So yeah, so that's just kind of some free agency on offense. I'm guessing he'll put out a defensive list here, and maybe we'll go over that next week. But now let's move along to we introduced this segment last week, so we are going to do a draft here in a second. But well, I guess do we feel a little chilly now, Brandon?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do it. And
Okay. We left the window open.
I did.
I feel a draft. Let's change tables.
Get out of here. We have a booth.
But before we actually do the draft, so I thought this worked pretty well last week for our draft with the fellas from This Podcast Is Making Me Thirsty. You and I we're going to play an immaculate grid.
Yep.
To see who picks first in our draft. Let me pull it up here. And for those playing along at home, we are playing grid number 587, right?
Yep.
And that is from today, February 25th, 2025. Our rows are Cleveland Browns, Carolina Panthers, Baltimore Ravens. Our columns are Houston Texans, New York Jets, and a 3,000-yard passing season. And I will remind everyone at home that season has to be with the team in the cell. So
Correct.
3,000 yards passing for the Browns, Panthers, or Ravens, as it were, for this one. You got a coin flip we're gonna do here?
No, I think last week I went first on this, so I think it's your turn to roll.
You'll let me kick off here, as it were?
Yeah, you kick us off, Paul.
Okay, I'm gonna start with the Carolina Panthers 3,000-yard passing season, and I'm gonna go with a legend, Kyle Allen.
Okay.
And that gets me a 1%.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to beat that.
You don't have many options for the Panthers for 3,000.
No, so I'm just gonna roll. I don't want to take yours and concede it. Well,
You're gonna concede, or
I'm gonna go Steve Berline, 4%.
what is it? 4%.
4%. So not too bad.
By the way, do you know that Steve Berline holds the
All-time
record
passing record.
all-time passing season for the Panthers?
Oh, the most yards in a season.
Yep,
So
like
says
45.
That says a lot about their franchise.
I mean,
Also
like,
kinda
because
speaks
but
poorly
think about it, like,
Cam Newton.
well, so Cam is second all time. He had a 4,000-yard passing season in 2011. The MVP year for Cam, 2015, he threw for 3,800 yards. Other names that threw for 3,000 yards for the Panthers, Jake Delhomme, obviously.
Yep.
And Teddy Bridgewater would be.
Andy Dalton didn't make it.
You know who I really wanted to use, but I can't because he missed it by like less than 70 yards.
Right.
Remember Chris Winkie?
Chris Winkie.
From
I think,
Florida State. Yeah.
Right.
I think I tried it one time, and it didn't work, and I had to check it, and yeah, he missed it by like 60 yards or something like that. So the turn is to you, sir.
All right, I'm going to go up top middle, Browns Jets.
Okay.
We're going to go with the Cowboy legend. We're going Abram Elam.
Oh gosh, it's gonna be tough to beat, I imagine.
Yeah, 0.1%.
0.1. Okay, I'm gonna go with to continue with the Seinfeld theme. Not Salt, but
Pepper Johnson.
Pepper Johnson, 0.7%. So
beat you by a small percent, by
so
6.
still, hey, I'll take it. I'll take it. I'm still under 1%. I'll take it.
All
So
right,
is it
Paul,
to,
let's see
the
your
turns to me? Let's see here. Let's go. Gotta check this one real quick. I'm gonna stay in the 3,000-yard column,
Okay.
but I'm gonna go with the Cleveland Browns, and I'm gonna go with a Cowboy legend. Just double checking to make sure it's right. Yeah,
Bernie?
Brandon Whedon. Brandon Whedon,
All right.
2%.
Okay. I'm going to go with another. I'm going to go with. No, I'm not going to use the Cowboy legend. I'm going to use Tim Couch. Tim Couch. Ooh, 6%.
Okay. Yeah, you made me nervous there for a second. I was like, that might actually hit. Are we gonna go Bernie Kosar?
I thought about doing that. I'm curious what that is though.
You could also go Baker Mayfield. That's probably the big one.
Yeah.
Brian Hoyer is also eligible for that.
Bernie
Derek
Kosar.
Anderson. Do you remember
Ooh,
Derek Anderson?
Bernie Kosar would have been 18%.
Remember Derek Anderson?
I do remember Derek
that played in the
Anderson.
league. All right, so I'm 2-1. I'm up one on you. So pick us to you, sir.
All right, I'm going to go down to the. I'm going to stick in the Jets column here.
Okay.
We're going to go Jets. Oh man. Let's go Jets. This is great radio, Paul. Me debating which square to go to here.
It's
Riveting.
it's okay. Take your time. Not in a hurry.
All right, I'll go Jets Panthers.
Okay, Jets Panthers.
And we will go with someone that we talked about on this episode. We're going Josh McCown, 4%.
Josh McCown. Okay. Ooh.
This is the one I had the most trouble coming up with, but he was on my mind, and so I just kind of wanted to get it out of the way.
You know what? This isn't one of those situations, is it?
Who are you thinking about?
All right, I'm gonna go. I'll stay with a quarterback. Oh, okay. I won't stay with a quarterback. I'm gonna go with Jericho Cotchery.
Ooh, good call.
4%.
All right, that's a tie. 4%.
It's a tie. All right. So, no, I thought I had to check it. I thought Josh's brother Luke was also eligible for this square, but he was not.
No.
That's a shame. That was
Luke
Jets
with
Panthers,
a
right?
Luke with a much smaller list of teams that he played for.
Yeah, that's a shame. Okay, I feel like the guy in Jeopardy that like keeps with the same column.
Going back to the 3K.
So let's go back to the 3K with the former Cleveland Browns, the Baltimore Ravens. Even though their Cleveland Brown history doesn't pass on,
Doesn't follow
them, but that's okay. Yeah. So Ravens 300-yard,
3,000 yard.
I'm sorry, 300 yard would be a low bar.
A lot easier to.
A lot easier to. Oh, there's one. There's a couple of guys I could almost use, but I don't think they'll qualify. So I'm going to go with. Actually, I'm going to go with the Cowboy legend here, Vinny
Testaverde.
Testaverde.
Okay, that's who That was going to be my picks. I'm just going to use it. We're just
3%.
going to, we're just
3%.
going to go and call that one because that's the guy I'm going to use too.
The guy I almost use. Well, actually, I guess I could have used him. Okay, never mind. I almost said Elvis Gerbach.
Mm.
Also eligible, obviously Lamar Jackson, Joe Flacco, but also eligible is the late great Steve McNair.
What about Dilfer didn't pass for 3,000?
No.
I was thinking of Steve McNair, and I never went to look and check and see if he was eligible.
Dilfer passed for 3,000 with the Bucks, but not the Ravens. I was also looking at Kyle. I should have been a bowler.
I looked at that one. He's not eligible.
Oh, I'm sorry. Trent Dilfer never passed for 3,000 yards.
Oh, good.
The closest he got was 28.59 with Tampa in '96. So yeah, never passed for 3,000. With Baltimore, you want to know how many yards he passed for that Super Bowl season?
2,500.
1,500. But you
got to remember having an easy job.
But you got to remember, he didn't start. He came in for Tony Banks.
Oh, Tony Banks, who passed for 3,000 yards, but not for the Ravens, for the Rams.
For the Rams, yeah. Yep. All right. Whose turn is it? Your turn?
Yeah. Let's see.
I guess you could have used. Well, never mind.
All right, I'm going to get this guy off the board for you.
Okay, go ahead.
We're going to go to We're going to go Ravens, Texans.
Okay. Oh,
we go with our legend, Jason Babin.
Yep.
0.3%.
Yep. Yeah, you really screwed me again, Costanza. Ravens, Texans. I'll go with what the hell? I'll go with Tony Banks.
Okay. Thought you might have gone Ryan Mallett. Matt Schaub.
Tony Banks is 1%.
Okay.
So you win that one. You win that one. Jason Babin's a cheat code on these.
All right, Paul, it's to you. You lead 3-2 in total squares.
No pressure here. Oh. No, I can't do that. Can I? Dang it! I can't use Babin for the Browns he didn't play for the Browns or the Panthers. So I can't use that. But he did play for the New York Jets.
He did.
So for Jets Ravens, I will go Jason Babin, 0.3%.
All right, let's see if this works. I got one guy.
Oh boy, I'm gonna be.
If this works, let's see.
Is it Dick Shiner?
It is not Dick Shiner. Oh wait, what am I looking at here?
Ravens Jets is the.
Oh no, I got confused.
I
got confused. Yeah, I got this backwards. I meant to use Shane Graham for
the
other one, but he didn't play for he didn't kick for the Jets is the problem.
Saints Edge Shane Graham.
Yeah, I've already used
Testaverde.
I think this will probably blow me up. I want to go Ed Reed.
Yeah, that's got to be
8%.
Okay. It's not as bad as you thought, but yeah, no. I was to say that's kind of.
Yeah, so I meant to do it the other way around. The Babin for Jets, Ravens, and then Shane Graham for Texans.
Ravens.
Yeah.
All right. The point is to you, sir. So wait, so I'm up 4-2.
That's correct.
And we've got 2 squares left.
Correct.
So if I get this one, I clinch, right?
Yes.
Or if
Okay.
it's a tie, I clinch.
Oh yeah, I guess so. All right, I'm going to go Texans, Panthers, Shane Graham,
There you go.
0.8%.
So I already used Kyle Allen.
You did.
So can't do that.
There's Saints legend here.
Shane Graham, yeah. Shane
No,
Graham's
no. I'm saying you could.
Oh, there
also
is a
done-
Saints. Oh, there
there's
is a
another
Saints legend.
Saints
I'm sorry.
legend.
Ooh, are you talking about Lonnie Johnson?
I was talking daylight coming. You got to Delhomme.
Oh well, I'm gonna go Lonnie Johnson Jr. 0.2%.
Ah, you win.
But yeah, no, Delhomme would have been. That had to be like that. That might be the top one actually.
No. My guess would be that him and Cleveland would be the highest, or Texans Browns would probably be the highest for Delhomme.
Maybe David Carr or Clowney for Texans Panthers.
Deontay Foreman.
Deontay Foreman, maybe UT legend, right?
Correct.
All right, so last square here we got is Browns Texans. Am I first?
Let's see. Yeah, because I did Shane Graham.
Okay, so Browns Texans. I mean, we could always go with he who shall not be named, but I don't think
I'm
we'll
sure
do
that's
that.
a pretty high score too.
Maybe people don't use them out of spite.
Is that what you're gonna bank on here?
I'll go with a quarterback, but not that quarterback. I'm gonna go Jeff Driscoll,
Okay.
the Florida Gator legend. That's 0.2% for me.
Oh. All right. I'm just gonna go with the guy I usually use here since I'm out of stuff. I'm gonna use Duke Johnson.
There you go. Miami, Florida
Yep.
legend.
Yep. Also played for the Dolphins.
Oh, he did. That's right. No. What was the number there?
I'm at 32. Oh wait,
What
for Duke Johnson, 3%.
Okay. Yeah, so I was at 13. So score one for me.
Score one for the boys back home.
For the boys back home, hey. You weren't taking it easy on me, were you?
No, I got confused. The Jason Bateman Shane Graham mishap really cost me.
I mean, like I said, Baben, he's a cheat code, man. He played for
a lot of teams.
He played for. I just want to
7.
just for the
one.
and
No,
well,
actually, no. Sorry, I'm sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 teams.
Played for 9 teams. He also recorded 50 sacks.
Yep.
So if that category comes up, you can use him for that. He did also made a Pro Bowl.
First round pick.
He was a first round. I know because I used him for a first round pick for somebody. So all 9 of those teams, you can use him as a first round pick for that category. Played for Houston, Philadelphia, Jacksonville, Seattle, the Jets, the Titans, the Chiefs, the Ravens, and the Cardinals. Did he play for all the Birds? Did he play for all? Yeah, he played for. No, not Atlanta. He didn't play for Atlanta.
Mm.
So he played for Philly, Seattle, Baltimore, and Arizona. So 4 of the Bird teams.
So close.
So close. All right, let's move on to the actual draft here. So what I thought we'd do is we're going to draft combine participants. And we're going to do it as follows. So we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 categories, right?
Yep.
So we'll draft 1 from each category. The categories are defensive line, running back. We're going to combine wide receiver and tight end. So pass catcher. Quarterback, offensive line, defensive back, and linebacker. So much like we did with the draft with the boys from This Is Podcast Make Me Thirsty, we'll just pick a player, put them in a category, move on. don't have to, we'll do a snake format. I will go first since I just won the Immaculate Grid there. And we are eliminating players that are not going to participate in the combine. So guys like Ashton Genty, Abdul
Shadur.
Carter, Shadur Sanders. Well, let's eliminate Cam Ward because it looks like he's not going to participate. So let's just,
We'll just say no.
even if he does, yeah. But and the idea here is like these are guys that we're looking forward to seeing them for whatever reason, maybe selfish reasons for our own teams, or just because we think they're going to put on a good show. So for me, I will start. I'm going to start in the defensive line. This might be a odd pick, but I'm going to start defensive line. I'm going to go with Mason Graham out of the University of Michigan. A lot of talk about him potentially moving down the board. He's been kind of a top 5 pick so far this cycle. But there's been talk in recent days and weeks. Maybe he moves down. I mean, listen. If he gets to 9, I think the Saints need to run the card up to draft him. But I think a lot of that might a lot of those questions might be answered this week at the combine with how he performs. So I'm gonna go Mason Graham, the defensive tackle, from.
And so I'm free to choose whatever category I want, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Like we do.
Yep. You just got to fill out all. You just got to fill out all 7 categories.
Yeah, I'm going to go QB first, and I'm going to go with the guy who we're curious about, Texas Longhorn Quinn Ewers first.
Okay.
Just because he's the most interesting, because I know Jackson Dart's kind of the guy that's been moving up boards because of the Senior Bowl. But Ewers, I'm actually curious about how people see him. Do you see a difference with the oblique injury kind of fully healed? So just to see what he puts on tape there.
Yep, I agree. You got another pick?
And then next, I'm going to go into the defensive backs because I've heard this guy mentioned lately on a couple of podcasts as kind of a sort of will be one of those sort of athletic freaks. I want to go to safety. I want to take Nick Imanwari.
Yep. South Carolina.
Out of South Carolina.
I've seen him even sneak up into the top. I've seen him mock to the Saints at 9, honestly.
Yeah, I think Dane Brugler's comments was he's kind of a guy that's one of those guys that you might want to put down near the box. It's kind of an enforcer guy because he's one of those guys who when they're running straight ahead looks great, but when he asks them to change directions, things get a little ugly. But should test really well.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of I'm curious to see how that goes. All right, 2 picks to you, Paul.
2 picks to me. Okay, so I guess I don't need to take quarterback because you've taken yours. And you took defensive back. Okay. I mean, look, I'll go wide receiver. And I'm gonna go with the guy we haven't mentioned. I'm kind of taking him just so we talk about him. Your guy, the Golden Boy, Matthew Golden from UT. Interested to see how he grades, what he looks like. He's kind of risen up the
really is the Golden Boy.
He really is a Golden Boy.
Golden Boy.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to run as fast. I don't think he'll run as fast as Worthy, but like to see what he brings to the table. He can see if he can get into that mix with all the other receivers outside of Travis Hunter. You can have the grades that they have on NFL.com right now. He's tied with Tet McMillan and right behind Luther Burden III. So, interested to see how he looks. And then, so that's my pass catcher. I guess I didn't think about that. I could have taken a tight end. Oh, well. That's a shame. Running back. Yeah, right. Running back. I'm going to go with the guy that I think either one of our teams could really use. How about Travion Henderson from The Ohio State University?
Yeah, that's really who I want Dallas to end up with in the second round.
Yeah. Yeah. Interested to see. I keep seeing him in like the third round in mocks, late second.
I feel
Maybe
like
if he
the
has.
running, but I feel like wide receivers are starting to get pushed down from the mocks
Yep.
I've seen, and then running
Yep.
backs are getting pushed up,
Yep.
which I find a little surprising.
Well, I think that's a lot of the Jameer Gibbs effect, maybe. Like,
Mm,
'cause Detroit took him in the first round, and everybody was like, "What are you doing taking a running back in the first round?" And then he ends up being good.
could be partially the Saquon effect too.
That too. Yeah, that too. Well, I mean, the running back, yeah, the position itself is back in vogue, as it were.
Mm.
With Derrick Henry and Saquon and Josh Jacobs to some extent. All right, so I've got a defensive tackle, a receiver, and a running back. Back to you, Brandon, for your next two picks.
All right, I'm going to go to wide receiver here, and I'm just going to take my boy here, Luther Burden.
Yep, I left him for you.
I appreciate that. Yeah,
I left
just kind of want to see what he tests at and what he looks like, because he's been dropping a lot lately. So I want to see if maybe like a good showing at the combine can help push him back up a little bit. And then the other pick, I'm going to go defensive line, and this is another I want to see the like sort of like testing freakiness of him because I've seen, I've heard some pretty interesting stuff about it. I'm going to take Shamar Stewart, defensive end out of A&M.
Yeah, PFF mocked him to the Saints. I've seen him mocked to the Saints. He feels, from what I think I've read, he's more of a stereotypical like 4-3 defensive end, like that kind of big body.
Yeah, I think the one thing that I hear about him a lot is like he had a lot of pressure production, but not in a lot of sacks because a lot of times he was getting the pressure, and then other guys were kind of cleaning up and getting the actual
right
sacks.
Yeah,
All right.
6'5", 281 is Shamar Stewart. So that's a big kid. That's a big guy. All right, so the pick is to me here.
It is.
So I've got a defensive lineman, a pass catcher, and I've got a running back. We haven't talked about offensive line. Let's take a look here. I'm going to go with this. We mentioned him a little earlier, but I'll mention him here. Armand Mimbo is offensive lineman out of Missouri. I've seen
He's
him.
a Mount Bimbo. He's a Mimbo.
No, he's not a bimbo. He's a Mimbo. Yeah. Seen him mocked to the Saints a couple times. NFL.com has him as the highest graded of the linemen right now, even ahead of Calvin Banks and Will Campbell. We saw Mel had him mocked pretty high in his mock draft, so interested to see his again, a little versatility, can play outside or inside, it looks like. And then so I got defensive line, I got offensive line. I guess I'll take my quarterback now. Okay, so I'm going to mention this guy because, again, it's somebody we just haven't mentioned yet, and I've seen him. I've seen some people have this guy as quarterback 2 in this class. Tyler Shuck from Louisville.
What the Shuck?
Yeah. Now his last name is spelled Shough, but they somehow get Shuck out of that. I don't know. Sure.
Really?
But Greg Cosell, who's been doing this for a long time, he was on the Russ Tucker podcast this week, and he has Tyler as his QB2 in this draft, ahead of So I'm interested to see how he does. Another name I'll just throw out. A couple other names I'll throw out here. We talked about Dylan Gabriel a little bit. You mentioned Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe from Alabama. I'm nervous. I wouldn't touch him, but That's just me. Got a lot
He
of
is
traits. I mean,
he,
he'll probably.
he feels like a worse passing version of Jalen Hurts.
Well, that's what I was going to say. A lot of people are going to think he's Jalen Hurts, but I don't. He ain't Jalen Hurts. I don't think. Now, I will say, if I had to bet money which quarterback's going to run the fastest 40, I think Jalen Milroe is going to be that guy. But
Yes.
I also mentioned Kyle McCord from Syracuse. He was a transfer from Ohio State. Again, a guy who won a lot of games, played a lot of football in college, so that matters, I think. Will Howard from Ohio State. Interested to see him. Curtis Rourke. Riley Leonard from Notre Dame. I can't get behind Riley Leonard, but
Seth Hennigan.
that's your guy from Memphis.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Maybe. I know they haven't announced. I know they said, we talked about it. Shadur's not throwing. Cam may or may not throw, but I think everybody else is going to throw at the combine. So, good for them. So, so I'll get Tyler Shuck there. And I think the pick is now back to you.
Yes. All right. I'm going to go offensive lineman, and this is the guy that we've talked about. He was mocked to Minnesota. He's been mocked to Minnesota quite a bit, I think.
Okay.
Curious to
Great
see his
Zabel.
performance just based on. I want to see what the athletic measurables are because he played at a smaller school, and so you kind of want to see like what is the profile like here.
I'm curious too. I know at the Senior Bowl, this guy he didn't lose. I don't think he lost a rep at the Senior Bowl. Zabel, Gray Zabel, 6'5", 316. So again, pretty big fella. We'll see. He could probably solidify a first round pick here. Who you got for your? Oh, I like this running back choice you got here.
Yeah, I'm gonna play to the crowd here. I'm gonna take Caleb Johnson, running back out of Iowa. Just kind of curious to see what he looks like because there's because we talked about Genty, we talked about Travion Henderson a lot. Amarian Hampton's been mocked to the Cowboys a few times, not necessarily in the first round, like Mel had him. But the other guy that I've seen is Caleb Johnson. So there's kind of, I think those are kind of the 1, 2, 3, 4. No, those are the 4. Scatterbo, I like Scatterbo as like a gimmick back. I don't know that I want to trust him to be like a bell cow guy. And I don't like pairing him with bringing back Rico Dowdle. Like I like Rico Dowdle. I think if you bring back Rico, you need somebody who's a little more lightning to the thunder, basically.
So I just looked this up. Lance Zierlein on NFL.com compares Caleb Johnson to Tyler Algier, currently with the Falcons. So just food for thought there. Who does he have for Travion Henderson? Let's see who the comparison is he has here. Oh, Aaron Jones as a.
Oh, that's a good comp. That's a good comp.
That's a good comp. Just for yucks, what about Omarion? First round pick Omarion Hampton. Ramondre Stevenson as a comp for Omarion.
That's not a guy. I like Ramondre. That's not a guy I want to spend the 12th overall pick on. No offense.
Oh, okay. So I've seen Ashton Genty compared to Alvin Kamara a lot, but Lance Zierlein's comparison is you might have heard of this guy, LaDainian Tomlinson.
All right, now there's somebody I would take. I get
right. No pressure, Ashton.
Yeah, no pressure there.
No pressure there. So did you make your 2 picks?
Yeah. So I took Zabel first, right?
Yeah. So you've got 6. Zabel. I've got 5.
You've got 5. So you have 2 more, and then I've got 1 to close us out.
And you've got 1 to close us out. Okay. So I need, let's see, I got defensive line, a running back, I've got a pass catcher, got a quarterback, I got offensive line. So I just need a defensive back and a linebacker. And a linebacker, right?
Oh, that's right, linebacker. I don't think I have a linebacker yet. I think that's what I'm missing too.
For defensive back, I'm going to play to my audience as well. I'm going to go Jahdae Barron out of Texas.
There you go.
As we mentioned, the Saints just hired a guy who was at Texas as a defensive backs coach. So I'd imagine they're going to take a look at Jade Barron. Also, who's the kid at safety? Andrew Makuba? Is that
Yeah.
Makuba? Okay. I'm going to keep an eye on him too. But
Yeah,
I'll
I like
take,
both of them. Their defensive backs played really well this year. They had one of the best pass defenses, and I think that the pass rush was good, but also like their defensive backfield was really, really good.
yeah. Okay, so I'll take Jade Barron there for my defensive back, and then for my linebacker.
Hoping you don't take the guy I want off the board here.
Is that so linebacker's kind of weird. Like, linebacker's always weird, I guess. But the one guy that I've seen throughout this process that's maybe slipping into the first round is Jihad Campbell.
Yep.
And that's who I'll go with. I'll go with Jihad
Dang
Campbell.
it. That's who I wanted.
Now, I should point out, and I don't know if this will matter for you, if you're your pick, they have Jalen Walker listed as linebacker. I've
But
seen
he's
him
one of
listed
those guys who's like a combo defensive end,
yeah,
right? Who like a Micah Parsons sort of player.
In fact, yeah, that's why I want to look up who does Zerline have him. Yeah, so Zerline compares him to Nolan Smith. Obviously, both Georgia Bulldogs there. For Jihad Campbell, I've seen he's like a pure linebacker, like a middle linebacker. He compares him to Trevon Wallace.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, best way to utilize him. This is for Jihad Campbell. Best way to utilize him might be as a full-time 3-4 rush linebacker. Hey, guess what defense the Saints might be playing next year?
There you go.
3-4. So there you go. Yeah. So that'll be. I'm surprised Iowa doesn't have a linebacker. They usually have at least one linebacker in the mix every year. Maybe it's an off year this year.
All right, I'm just gonna go. All right, I don't know very much about him. I'm gonna go Carson Schwessinger.
Oh, from UCLA.
Correct.
Yeah, I've heard some good things. I've seen him day 2 pick. Zerline does not have
we need a linebacker, but I don't know if I want to go second round for it when we have more pressing needs at the moment.
Zerline does not have a NFL comparison for him, but just a real quick bio on Schwessinger. He went from walk-on to All-American at UCLA. He's a human bloodhound, pairing elite instincts with an understanding of blocking schemes and run tracks. Pursuit speed is average, but his play recognition helps him play fast. Undersized, takes the worst of it when blockers get on top of him. Good athlete in coverage. Sound technician as an open field tackler. Bona fide standout on special teams. Only started for 1 season. Projects as a future starter either inside or as a 4-3 will linebacker. So there you go. There's a little. Are the Cowboys playing? Well, I don't know. They changed the defenses, so I don't know. They playing.
Yeah, but it's still a 4-3.
Still 4-3. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go, buddy. Another linebacker I've heard, a guy out of Penn State, Kobe King. I've heard his name mentioned. By the way, they mentioned Schwessinger. Is it Schwessinger? Yeah, Schwessinger was undersized. Just to give you his measurables here, 6'2", 225. Yeah, that's pretty for a linebacker. That's kind of,
yeah, you kind of want that too.
Yeah. Okay, so we got all our picks in here now.
Yep, we do.
So just a quick recap. I got defensive line Mason Graham, pass catcher Matthew Golden, running back Travion Henderson, offensive lineman Armand Mimbo, quarterback Tyler Shuck, and linebacker Jihad Campbell.
That's a quarterback Quinn Ewers, defensive back Nick Imanwari, Luther Burden as a wide receiver, Shamar Stewart on the defensive line, Gray Zabel on the offensive line, Caleb Johnson for the running back, and Carson Schwessinger for the linebacker.
Wait, I don't have a defensive back listed.
Yeah, you do. Oh, no, sorry, I forgot to list it, but you took my boy.
Oh yeah, Jade Barron.
Johnny
Yeah.
Barron.
Yeah, I was like, I know, I'm pretty sure I took one. I just didn't see it listed.
There we
I
go.
must have got confused.
Now we made the numbers work.
Yeah, we crunched the numbers. We made them work. All right. So I think that kind of wraps us up here. We got nothing else really to preview. Got the combine this weekend, so we'll be watching that. By the way, the Oscars are also this weekend. If anybody's interested in
Ooh, I might have to.
Conan
Oh,
O'Brien,
I still
hosting.
need to see Nora. I haven't seen Nora yet.
So we'll see how this works out. So one of my wife's friends is bringing her daughter over on Saturday to have like a play date with our daughters. I may see if I can use that time to go see The Brutalist. It's playing at the theater over here. It's like a 3.5 hour movie. So
Yeesh.
yeah, but it's supposed to be very good, and it's one of the front runners for Best Picture. I haven't seen the only Best Picture nominee I've seen. I've seen parts of Wicked, and I've seen Conclave. I think we talked about on the show.
I assume you enjoyed Wicked more than I did.
I mean, I didn't hate it, but I had a previous experience with it. Like, I knew about it from years gone by. So, yeah. So the Oscar, and again, I'm really excited for the Oscars this year. Conan O'Brien is hosting, so I definitely will be watching. And maybe we'll talk about it on the show next week. We'll also kind of recap the combine, see where things stand. I'm sure somebody will have a mock draft updated after, post combine.
Oh, of course.
So look forward to that. Anything else you want to tell the fine folks before we sign off, Brandon?
No, I think that's it for this week.
All right. Well, we'll see everybody next week. Until then, happy football.
Happy football.